I wonder why, yeah, life had to be so hard, Lord. Now life, here to do that car, yeah, son at a TV, yeah, just what our people need, Lord. The house of consciousness, come get it off your chest, spreading information through the city streets, the urban traveling street to street. Son at a TV deal with facts that be concrete. Ooh, check out the realness, see how raw it be. See whether it's debating over DVD. Sit back, relax, and let your mind be free. So if you got that info and can take the heat, ooh, just come correct, this here ain't for the weak, yeah.
He broke through all that. When I heard him, when I saw him, he was chilling, breaking down the Henny, chilling. I said, that's my man right there. Because now I can be me. I don't need a bow, no disrespect, I don't need a bow tie to be walking tight and shit. If it's popping off, it's popping off. You see what I'm saying? So this, why this brother was so significant in bringing this information. So with no further ado, I need you to put your hands together for brother all the way from Atlantis.
I wish you could hear him talk. You know, it's the brother from the UK. Wish you could hear him talk and all when he came ocean to be put to work. but you know, and you say you and I always ask the question, well, you UK by what island? And you say what, Barbados? Yeah, see, you know, very interested. And the other brother that's coming, Emmanuel. They're doing the whole Canadian thing, and that's a whole island connection and different things like that, you know. So it's real key. This stuff is getting all over the globe. I'm getting all over the globe and all, you know. They contact me a couple of years ago. You know, I was like, well, I'm waiting on my passport and stuff, you know, but you know how lazy a nigga is, you know. But it's coming. And then when I tried to get one, when I applied for one, that's when the whole thing got swamped, when they told everybody they had to have a passport to go into Canada. Then all of a sudden they got jammed up and they had to delay that process. You see, so it's just interesting how things go.
They're making that money, ain't they?
Yeah.
They're making it.
You see, so now, today is a very unique day, not only because it's Easter, and Easter can be traced all the way back to ancient Hemmitt, especially with the Easter egg hunt that you now, even to this day, and we know that after, the story goes that after Osiris was cut up, and this is mythology, Osiris never existed as an actual human. You see what I'm saying? These are stories actually that's talking about a future race, talking about us. You see what I'm saying? After Osiris was cut up, Isis in order to find the parts of the body, they used the children of the Nile in the mythology to find the actual pieces of Osiris or Osa. So in so many words, that's what the origin of your whole Easter egg hunt, as well as the whole fertility aspect from the goddess Ishtar, Astarte, Anana, Het-Heru. This is also a great day for that also, as far as the whole fertility aspect of the whole the bunny rabbit and all of that stuff. So they took ancient festivals and then they fused the Christian stuff into it. You see what I'm saying? And this is how this happened. Let's take, for instance, one of the great ancient festival days that was set up by the Druids, which we now know that the Druids were none other than an earlier form of the Camites that migrated into Europe long before the Moors. You see what I'm saying? The Moors were what, the 800, 700, 800, but we're talking about that migrated into Europe and built Stonehenge. And they had these rituals, these Druid rituals, and this is the basis for your Wiccan and your witchcraft stuff. This is all the practice and mysteries of Isis, Set. And so the Wiccans had several festival days in Europe. One of the festival days in Europe was honoring the god Pan. Dionysus, which is all forms of Osiris, and the green man, and which is the god of nature, the god of love, and the whole Osirian mystery in Europe. And later on, that was replaced with St. Patrick's Day, but they kept all the motifs, the green, the green man, and a lot of the motifs that go into to St. Patrick's had nothing to do with St. Patrick's. So in so many words, they can go and take an earlier festival and just set an icon in the middle of it, and you will think that the new person that they set this stuff around had something to do with the inception of this particular festival. It was the same thing happened with December 25th, which is basically, it's a day for all ancient gods. All ancient gods, fire gods, sun gods, or what have you, and later on, and also Heru, that later on became the whole Jesus thing. You see what I'm saying? And we'll get into some stuff that actually happened on that actual day. On that actual day. So now what we're going to do is so I want to put that in context with this whole Easter thing. But today is a very special day because we're going to honor, and I'm going to see if I can put this up here. We're going to honor, see, does this thing come on? Let's see. This is the brother C. Freeman L. Let's see, I gotta see if I can hit it again. Here it is. This is an ancient master that just made the transition. Do me a favor and cut down the lights a little bit, just you dim them a little bit so they can see a picture of this brother. This brother, I don't know, C. Freeman L. was about, yeah, that's cool. C. Freeman L. was about, I don't know, about 6'4", 6'5", and was one of the master teachers. Right after I started my lecturing, the first lecture I did was the Dogon lecture, like June 17, 1992. About the end of that year, we realized when I did a couple of lectures, and we had a black intelligentsia group, and we realized we was going to have to get into forms of meditation. I was like, damn. I said, man, well, we're going to find the type of person to teach us the certain way. I put another brother down I was in the Dr. Ben's mystery system before it became defunct. And I put this other brother down with the Dr. Ben's mystery system, a brother from Africa. And he later on went from the Dr. Ben's mystery system and got in Raul Nefer's group. The whole Raul Nefer group, Set Society. And he became his spiritual son. And so he was dealing with a certain amount of meditation techniques. I said, well, I tell you what, brother, I'm going to get a couple of crew together, get a couple of guys together, and we're going to come and we're going to get into some of these techniques. Oh, well, brother, I got to do a reading on that. I'm like, wait a minute, nigga, now. I put you down with the Dr. Ben shit back in the day. Now, all of a sudden, now, you done got all high and mighty, and you got to do a fucking reading. I say, see how niggas are? I said, that's all right. So what happened was, that was in the fall of the year, so by the first of 2003, along came the master that we needed. It's the brother C. Freeman L., who did enormous amounts of lectures and stuff. So he did his lectures set up on classrooms. Now it's very key at this particular time because I was one of the first crew of students in Atlanta, but it's very key that we honor him today in New York because after Atlanta, one of the first stops on his journey to come to teach a certain amount of classes was New York. Was anybody in here that went through any C. Freeman L. classes from New York? So that was one of the first stops. It's a whole nother crew because I've been at this for a while. But nevertheless, he came and he taught here. Now the deal here is, first of all, I want to pour his favorite drink. Old English 800. Now, pour his favorite drink on to the day as a libation. I feel very honored because I always was a little jealous of the guys out there, the Crips. A little jealous of the Crips and the Bloods when they would pour for the brothers who ain't here. So we get to do this. And so it's the greatest thing is for him, this is one of his greatest drinks. It's Old English 800. So we're going to pour some Old English 800 for him. And we did a big memorial last Sunday, down in Atlanta, around 3 o'clock. And he had maybe about 25, 30 students that came out. And we just sat around and talked, sat around and talked. And did a major memorial, but we forgot the Old English. You see what I'm saying? So we got the Moorish calendar because he was a master Moor. And he was a part of a Moorish crew out of Ohio, which is a real long-standing tradition of the whole Moorish thing. You see what I'm saying? So when I pour him some Old English, and then the brother Panic let us know that he was talking to the brother Tefiru, or Tef, who used to lecture here in Atlanta. I mean here in New York. And Tef said it's interesting because the Old English, the 800 is when the Moors actually took over Europe. You see, they invaded in the 700, late 700, but it was actually the 800 was one of those key dates. And it's interesting because C. Freeman L., when we got in touch with him, he said it was quintessential that I had to leave on the 8th. Now, we in the place and we going through all this stuff, and I said, I forgot the 800, Old English 800, and when I stepped to go sit down, he whispered in my ear and said, no, that's not one of the reasons why I was drinking it. I was drinking it also because of the burgundy in it matched the burgundy fez that the Moorish brothers, you see what I'm saying, the Moorish brothers wear. So now, you say, well, what does this got to do with knowledge or whatever? You got to go back and look at your martial arts flicks. It is always, the master is never going to come, you see what I'm saying, looking a certain way. A lot of times, the highest masters, they're going to come as a drunken master. They're going to come like Yoda, living in a shithole eating stew. You see what I'm saying? So this is the key on our perception. They said that the neophyte always looks at the apparent, what appears to be. And he's always fooled and can never really pick up things because he never know the master. Remember the story, it was the great story that comes out of India about the guy goes to find God, and he goes to find God for 100 years down this long journey, couldn't find God, goes to find another 100 years and couldn't find God, goes to try to find God the 300 years and couldn't find God, but only thing he found on the side of the road was a doggone prostitute. And he says he was getting ready to start his journey for another set of 100 years on his journey for the 400 years, and he went up to the prostitute and said, can you tell me how to find God? Because you're the only thing I've seen. And the prostitute said, I'm God. He said, but you're a prostitute. He was like, no, this is the way it is. You see? And all that's in the universe, so you can't exclude anything. You said you can't exclude anything. So, and it's interesting how people are stuck in religion. One Hebrew brother heard this and he thought it was one of the most awful things he ever heard, as God being a prostitute. You see what I'm saying? I'm saying you have these particular notions and these particular dogmas that's set up that you think that everything is going to come a certain way and confined in a certain way. That's the mystery of what is going on here when it comes to this brother. This brother smoked, chain smoked. But I do know one thing about this brother. He was 72 when he passed on 2 weeks ago. Now I do know something about this particular brother. 72 is the 72 there's 72 sons of Ptah, 72 spirits in the Goetia. 72 is a real key aspect. And the other stuff on 72, it's a real key things that goes on 72. So he chose. Huh? The conspirators of Set. And he chose that date to leave. Now, for a chain smoker to live at 72, we do know one thing about him. He used to could heal himself. And he used to tell me, he said, man, he used to tell me this, because what we did was we opened up an office down at Starbucks in the middle of downtown Atlanta. And so everybody who wanted to come see us, we sat around Starbucks and drinking coffee and shooting ideas and knowledge and different things like that. So we became comrades. And people say, well, you don't find Bobby Hemmitt or you want to find Seafood Manila, you got to go downtown to the Equitable Building, because that was our office in front of Starbucks for a year in 1998. And at the end of that year, John Henry Clark died, made the transition, and Kwame Ture. And it's interesting, 10 years later to the day, C. Freeman L. makes the transition. But this is what I say about what was important about the 72. We know that he chose this for one reason. He told me that sometime in the late 80s or the early 90s, he said he felt a cataract coming on his eye. And he said, oh man, he said, oh no, I gotta do something. He said he got down there and went into meditation and reversed that. So I do know for a chain smoker that lived to 72, basically what he did is he would heal himself over and over and over again. And I know that he had the magic to do that because he was a part of a Yogananda set, or I think this guy named Babaji, who replicated his body on the earth about 300 years. You know, and they said what had happened was you gotta read the autobiography of a yogi. And what it is when they have a teacher that's real vital in teaching the students, and they don't get another teacher at that mastery level, then that means that teacher has to stay on the earth until they get a teacher on that mastery level. So as a result, they had some of these masters that would replicate their body and keep living for 200-300 years. You see, which is nothing, because you can look in the Bible and they tell you these types of stories. You can go into ancient African history and they tell you about people who used to live 200 and 300, 400 years. But they wasn't living 400 years just to be eaten. They was living because they had a spiritual purpose in it. They would have died, the earth would have lost some of that type of mastery of whatever it was that was going to ultimately uplift humanity. So these people had to stay till they could get somebody comparable enough so they could pass on. So he came, I knew he was a part of that system. That was one of his systems that he belonged to, that he had gotten into in the 1960s. So I knew that whenever I heard that, you know, he was dying from cancer or whatever, and within the last couple of months, I said, oh, he just wanted to get the hell up out of Dodge, because I know he knows how to live on this earth or whatever kind of thing like that. I said, because I done figured it out. You see, I done figured it out. Hell, I can heal myself by any concoction of alcohol. You see what I'm saying? You know, any concoction of alcohol, I can heal myself. You see what I'm saying? I wouldn't ask you to try this type of stuff, because you got to be a master of it. But I'm just trying to say, I figured out what it is able to do to keep rolling. You see what I'm saying? And basically, all I'm doing is with the alcohol is I'm just basically taking the 3 sips at night and getting under the music, getting under the LP, you know, the vinyl, and then tapping in and then letting whatever entity come in and heal you. You see what I'm saying? And heal you. And then I got so bad that the entities actually stopped coming. And then I realized what it was, and then in November, a couple of days before my birthday, I got electrocuted. And I'm not talking about like a shock. I'm talking about I was opening up a stereo receiver, and I bent over and forgot to unplug it. In the capacitor right there where the electricity comes is a big block in the back of, you know, TVs and receivers. That little coil where the electricity comes from the wall. I bent over and I was sweating and they had on no shirt, and the damn shit stuck to my stomach. And I can pull it out. Anybody know what anytime something sticks to you, you are electrocuted. So it stuck to my stomach. And I'm looking down at this thing, and this thing is electrocuting me, and I'm going, wow. Let's see how far this shit goes. Where's this going to take me? What can I do? Then the pain got excruciating. And I realized, well, if I'm not going to die, I ain't going to suffer like this. And then I unplugged it. The point I'm trying to make it, I got to that particular level. I had gotten to that particular level where basically what happens here, and we'll go into some of that science, you actually die in your sleep. You die in your sleep. And then another heartbeat takes over. So apparently, I had gotten to that particular level that, you know, I mean, there's all types of things that actually happen. And so, you know, advise you to go try this shit. You see, but I'm just trying to say, I knew that this brother C3 Manel had that ability. So when I heard he made the transition, I said, oh, he was trying to get the hell up out of Dodge. He said, yeah, he told the guys, he said, I'm going to go to a hospice and I'm going to ascend. He said, I want to go to a monastery, but he didn't have the money for that. So he said, I'm going to go to this hospice and I'm going to ascend. Plus they say what they do, they shoot your ass up with morphine. I said, okay. He went to the goddamn party. They shoot you up with morphine and you don't feel shit. I said, I know it. He bust up in that house, they shot him with that morphine, and I guess he was on a cool ride trying to get up out of here. And then, because it was the state program, they tried, because anytime you fuck with the state, you were nothing but experiment. Because it was the state, you see what I'm saying? Because he was in one of those old folks high-rise, and the senior living, assisted living, and when the state got in, they tried to put him on chemo. So they tried to put him on chemo one day, the next day he went into a coma, and 4 days later he ascended. But the day after he went into the coma, we got in touch with him, and I was like, what's up? He said, man, I made it. I'm in Command Central. I'm up here with the masters. So I'm where I need to be. So in so many words, it was a spiritual experiment that he had been in for the last 40-something years that actually panned out. So whatever we're trying to do to ascend to a certain level, he actually successfully completed that. He was like, I'm up at the highest level in Command Central. So he said, man, I'm chilling. It's off the chain. And then 2 days later, and so what happened was, he had this thing, he said, GOD, generator, operator, and destroyer. And my brother, because I had a brother a year older than me and a brother a year younger, we all took his class on the first level, some of the first students. So my brother went into, so the first thing they did was, when he went into the coma, he said, don't resuscitate me. So the first thing they did is they hooked his ass up to the doggone machine. Because the state, the people like, okay, he on this state thing, we're going to get this money from the state. So that probably kept on there 2-3 months. So my brother went in and said, generator, operator, destroyer. And the whole thing flatlined. The whole thing flatlined. And then it came back up. So what happened was, that was him telling him, yo, I'm where I'm supposed to be, and letting him know that he actually was hearing him say these things. You see, hearing him say these things. So, in so many words, we have an actual, master that's going on that particular level. You see what I'm saying? It's like sending a senator from your district. You see what I'm saying? To DC, it's the same thing with sending somebody that we all knew to that particular level in the hereafter or that upper room. Somebody that we all knew to in the hereafter or that upper room. So it's real powerful stuff that's actually going down. But it's now. But one of the keys is, and I want to see something, is two things happened about him. And I might have to go up a little bit. He was writing a book on the Bible and astrology. That was his thing. You know, he was into the Hemmitt stuff and he was into the Moorish thing. He said, but if you're going to reach these people out here, you better know something about that damn Bible. So he was writing a book on Bible and the Bible and astrology. And but I said, well, why you've been writing that book since I knew you. Why you ain't finished? He said, well, I'm going to get about 600 pages. Make it hard for a nigga to bootleg it. So anyway, the eerie part about this is he never finished the book, but the day he died, a book came out called The Gospel of the Zodiac. And I looked at it and it was the same thesis of what his book was supposed to be. The Gospel of the Zodiac. You see, another thing happened too. He would always tell his students, and I'm going to try to get to this particular part if I can. It's the master teacher. He would always try to tell his students, let's see, I hope that ain't all on there. Okay. You know, he always suggested this book, The Golden Age of the Moor. He would always tell his students about this. Now, one of the keys is one of the keys is he always would give one of the texts that he used to give his student was called a Kabbalion. See if I can find this thing. These are Moorish seals. These are Moorish seals. What these are called the clavicles or talismans of Solomon. And it was translated by a guy named MacGregor Mathers. But they always would go and say, well, we don't know, they just appeared in Europe. Anytime you hear something appearing and they can trace anything back, they fucking with dinosaurs and fossils. And they can trace things back to all kind of little hominid man and all these particular things. But all of a sudden now, when something appears in Europe and they don't know what it is, it means that they don't want you to know what it is. So these seals that was translated in the late 1800s by MacGregor Mathers are actually the seals of the Moors, the talismans of the Moors. And I got it's about maybe about 20 of them, and I got some over there for $5. These talismans of the Moorish seals. So this is science that we're digging up, that in actuality, when the Moors was in Europe, this is the type of stuff that they was teaching the Europeans in those major universities. You see, they call it clavicles of Solomon, but these are the Moorish seals. You see, these are the Moorish seals. And they also these have the Hebrew writing. They had some with Arabic. They would have some with Hebrew. They would have some with English. They would have several ones. These are the ones that was, the reason why these survived, because whatever those particular Kabbalistic scholars or the Hebrew people that was taught this, they preserved them. So we do have the Hebraic seals from the Moorish educational system. The Arab, probably they burn them, and they're probably still holding on to the British or the English. But these are the Hebraic seals. But what happened was, whenever you hear these things mysteriously appears, that means that they're trying to hide the Moorish history. Now, if you could ever go on the thing, this is probably one of the most important books on the Moors ever written. Because this particular book is the only book that links the Moorish science with the occult that we don't have to guess. The only thing they do, they got an extraordinary book, and they can write the extraordinary book, and the only thing they got to do is just not mention the name Moor. The name Moor. They'll say Suf or Sufi, woolly-haired one, documented in this book. Or they will say Camelot, King Arthur's Camelot, new lot of Cam, new lot of Hemmitt. And it wasn't Britain. The Moors had seen it in the future, and it was America. And a people in the future. So this particular book is called People of the Secret by Ernest Scott. And he even mentions that these seals, the Kabbalistic seals, the Zohar, the whole tree of life and all that stuff shows up in Europe. Shows up in Europe by the Islamic, the Arabs of Spain. So you can see, you can use all kind of things, you just can't say Moors. You see what I'm saying? So they had a whole history of the Moors, 3-part history of the entire Moors. That what we was waiting on white folks to do something. They did a whole 3-part series on the Moors in August. They just didn't make them black. But nevertheless, you don't need them to validate that. You just need to get the history of it. And I got it documented. I got all of it. It was on PBS. You see, so we got that. You see. Now, so we have that. So this is The People of the Secret by Ernest Scott, which is if you want to get into some serious knowledge of the Moors, not the history of the Moors. 90% of most people that say they Moors only is dealing with the fucking history. You see what I'm saying? And so, when you say the knowledge of the Moors, they'll look at these and don't even know that these are their symbols. So these are their symbols. I'm still on C. Freeman-L. America. Then they hold them buckets of water, because water and melanin go together like stink on shit. That's the key. The key to all of this is water. Water, the brain the brain's gasoline is water. Water is the key. They're asking you, African Americans, or susceptible, or, you know, the stroke thing they're talking about. Do you know stroke?
Right.
You know, I'm like, when the hell did you care? And what kind of research you trying to get down with? You see what I'm saying? Still trying to probe, so you go sign up. You see, about the stroke thing and the stroke victims, and basically drink water. That's the key. That's the key to this thing. So now, so the pineal gland raised up in America, you got your eagle, you got your buckets of water, you got your tree of life, which is ain't nothing but the chakra system too. And at the top of the chakra system, you have your actual pineal gland. You see what I'm saying? Which Jacob's ladder, he wrestled with the angel all night until daybreak. He saw the face of God, was called what? Pineal, right in your Bible. Your unicorn, that horn, the pineal gland was also called a horn. So when you get the unicorn, that horn represents the pineal gland. That's why you get the movie Legend. Came out in 1985 with Tom Cruise. And they broke the horn off the doggone unicorn, and the whole world fell into darkness. So what happened to you? Your pineal got covered over, and everything fell into the illusionary state of the matrix. Y'all all right?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one. They also show two men with wings dealing with the same structure, and they're holding the ring. The ring also represents the black dot, the Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings. You see, all this science moving right along. Here is two figures. Anytime you see that crochet looking beard, you can only get that if you're a brother. You see. So here's two. That's called mat. Shit get matted. Now if you walk around with that kind of stuff now, it's called derelict, indigent, bum. You see what I'm saying? But they have this person in the middle of it, which is a dog-faced demon. And what they're trying to say here is, it's a type of composite animal. Anytime you see an animal that you can't make out, because it's got several different things, and so the ancient people, what they would do is when they wanted to talk about an alien, or they wanted to talk about a high advanced spirit thing, they would take an animal and they would make an alligator, and they'd take crossbreed an animal where you get different parts of the animal which represents otherworldly. But the key here with this thing is it's up there fighting, and it's got that mace too. We know about that. That's later on called a nigger knocker by the police. You see what I'm saying? But the mystery of this is these three people are the same. This is human, and let's say if you took the human, took the body off of the human, you would get this monster-like person. It's called the monster of soul. You don't know your energy. You see what I'm saying? That's what happened last Friday. Not this Friday, but Friday before last, with the Jeremiah Wright speech. Came through and they looped it too many times, and the tornado appeared out of nowhere and knocked down the damn CNN center who was looping the shit down in Atlanta. Yeah. So this right here represents these two people's power. This entity in the middle represents these two people's power. You see, that's what that represents. Y'all all right?
Yeah.
Hit it again. Hit it again.
Hit it again, okay. As we know, this is the brother Noble Drew Ali. And it's interesting because I was here in July 14th or something of 2006. 4 days later, maybe July 16th, because 4 days later my mother made the transition. Sat in the living room and her Kundalini caught on fire and she just burnt the fuck up. And so first I said, damn, they had a fire in the house. And then that Monday, after she passed, the people called, the coroner called and said, we got to ship this body to Charleston, South Carolina because we don't know what happened. And I said, when that happened, I said, green light. Green light. I knew I was a part of some powerful shit and family on that level. Shipped it there, still couldn't find out, then they just settled on a fire in the kitchen. Well, I went up in the house and the kitchen was intact, the stove fire that came from the stove, that was intact, and that you could still cook on it. But I went in the room where she was and wasn't no floor. That means that the source of the heat came from her own body. She spontaneously combusted. You see what I'm saying? But it's interesting because when I was when I did a lecture at the Moorish Science Temple in Chicago about a month ago, they told me it's interesting because I told them she made the transition on July the 20th. Now I knew that 30 years before that, Bruce Lee made the transition on July the 20th, and they told me that Noble Drew Ali made the transition on July the 20th, 1929. You see what I'm saying? So I got to study something in that particular, that's a gateway or something. You see what I'm saying? It's a gateway, and that's interesting because a group of people went down to Virginia, people from Virginia went down to North Carolina and sacrificed about 30 goats. And my mother's sign was Capricorn. So it's just interesting here. It's just interesting here. And so he came through when I was at the Moorish Science Temple. Noble Drew Ali, because they had his picture by him, and he came through, and somebody asked me a question. And he allowed me to go into my genetic memory bank, and I saw a vision of some stuff. Somebody asked me a question about the pyramids, the ones in Mexico and the ones in Hemmitt and around the world. And whenever I just answered some shit and I didn't study it, I knew that it's coming from the spirit realm. And the brother asked the question, invoked it. He said, well, what about these different pyramids? What were they for? We knew that they wasn't for no burial. Or they were multifaceted. And I told him they were ancient airports. You could go in that pyramid with a certain frequency and end up, you go in the pyramid in Hemmitt, you could end up in Mexico. You go in the pyramid in Mexico, you could end up in the ones in China, the ones in Japan that they got up underwater, or the Native American mounds. They were ancient airports. And I said, damn, where did that come from? They were ancient airports. The day that I was saying this, the movie Jumpers had started the day before. And I didn't even see the movie at the time. At the time. So that's some stuff that was happening at the Moorish Science. We'll go into some other science in a few minutes. All right. C. Freeman, the day he died, a book came out called The Gospel of the Zodiac. The same day he died, this book came out. It's called The Secret Source. Dynamite book. But in this book, there's the Kabbalion. The Kabbalion was C. Freeman's chief book that he taught from. Of all the books, the Kabbalion is the one he put his students through, was the Kabbalion, which is the 7 Hermetic laws. So when all this stuff came out about the secret, the first thing I said was, that sounds like some shit from the Kabbalion. Did they talk about a fucking secret? I said, that sounds like some stuff from the Kabbalion. And here it is. The laws of attraction is one of the 7 laws. Here are the other 6. By Maja, M-A-J-A, D'-A-O-U-S-T. And Adam Parfrey, P-A-R-F-R-Y, Parfrey. And it's called The Secret Source. So this gives you the complete Kabbalion. And it gives you the other Hermetic laws that you don't have. So the secret only give you one. You see? This is the book you gotta have. It came out on that day, and I said, that's some spirit stuff going on. Here it is. This is one of the key books, the Kabbalion, one you teach on, and a new version of it comes out with all this added stuff and speaking and addressing the famous stuff the last 2 years on The Secret. Just interesting. See what we got next? All right, we're going to come back to that. We'll come back to that. Now, I want to do that, so we want to do that, and we'll start the other part in a minute. But what I want to do now is pour the libation to the deities. and then we can start the lecture. Y'all all right? Yeah. So the first one we're gonna pour the libation to, and I should have did it with the old English. So the first one we do is Si Primanel, Ashe, master teacher. All right. The next is, this is the Palo Viejo. This is you know, you got the Palo Manombe coming out of Puerto Rico, South America, Cuba. Probably is one of the most powerful systems left on the whole magic thing. You see what I'm saying? There's some more powerful ones, but those are the ones you make up yourself now. But we want to pour some for this rum to the particular deities, and then we'll just have a little roll call. Y'all all right? Yeah. All right. Ashe. Ashe. Heru. Ashe. Heru. Ashe. Osar. Ashe. Aset. Ashe. Tehudi. Ashe. Sekmet. Ashe. Maya. Ashe. Mim. Minimus. Muntu. Sebek. Saka. Sakaris. Nephitim. Sashet. Tehudi. Those. Iberus. Mamu, Astal, Anpu, Anput. Anpu, as you know, is Anubis. There's a female Anubis called Anput. And I'll tell you a living entity that was up under that, because we found that in the book, Geraldine Pinch's book, Egyptian Mythology. Yeah, now we go right now. Egyptian Mythology. And I said, well, we're going to find out more on this female Anubis or Anpu. And a female Anubis, I'll tell you who that is later on in the lecture. So Anput, Yeminya, Oshun, Ogun, Lepa, Obatala, Odunawa. Let's see, Shango, Erzuli, Akwai, Leoa, Azaka, Aksene, Yambalaweda, Aedaweda, Orisha Oku, Lakshmi, Vishnu, Shiva, Rudra, Pavati, Sati, Uma. And pay close attention to that name Uma, because I'm going to tell you some stuff on that. That's Uma is one of the wives of Shiva. It's a form of Pavati, but I'm throwing that out now, so it's very key that we deal with that in a few minutes after I get through with that. So as soon as I get through with the libation, remind me to go back to Uma. Emiya, which is the Dogon goddess. Emiya. This is one of her pictures. There was no picture of her, but she channeled this picture and said, do me a composite figure right here. Anytime you see the mermaids, that represents the water. And the other part is the fish, which is the Nomo thing. It's a composite picture, so that's the goddess Emiya, real powerful spirit that actually came back in this summer. Ashe. These are called the souls of P and Depth. And I'll show you this in a minute. I'll show it on the PowerPoint in a few minutes when we get into it. Ashe. Mayat. Ashe. Herukahudi, Hamaku, Hamakis, very important, Hamakis at this time. Hamaku the Sphinx. It's called Hamakis, Hamaku, Raharku. Very key at this particular time, the whole Sphinx thing, the realm of the Sphinx. It's going to be dealing with that for the next couple of months. Not because of research, but because there's certain entities come back. And it's very powerful at this particular time. Ashe. Let's see. Zarabanda, El Cristo Negro, El Cristo Rey, Macho de Agua, Macho de la Luna, La Santissima Muerte, La Santissima Pietra Even, San Simon, Francisco Siete Reyes, La Spiritual and Tranquila, Mama Shola. Actually, they did Mama Shola was on the Santana album, that Supernatural album that won all them awards in 1990. You know, remember the one that, in 2000, the Supernatural thing with Santissima Muerte? He had Mama Shola on there, and they just did that's the Palo, and they just did I think it's playing on the Showtime. They got a thing, Herbie Hancock did a movie called Possibilities. It's on Showtime, And he goes to different stars, and one of them he goes to to help him in his musical quest. He goes to Carlos Santana, and on the side of his t-shirt, he has the Zarabanda or Kumbanda or Umbanda patch, which means he's Paulo Manombe. Now, we just heard that the blind mayor or the blind governor is what, this is what Brother Azazel was hipping me to last night, that the blind governor is into all of that shit, the Paulo and all that. So it might have been some spirit stuff that come to pass. You see, that's that whole blind Heru thing. You see, so he's into all of that stuff, you see. So that's just interesting here. That's the Kumbanda. This is one of the shirts of Kumbanda that Brother Azazel is selling and stuff. So they got me a 6X. I guess it was cut small, but you know, that's cool. So Zarabanda. Ashe. So Oticha, Tiacha, Cheola, Shua, Omagumu, Nakala, Lokeo, Lokabo, Lamado, Luigi, Atama, Hoa, Eoa, Odugo, Bimasa, Ahuke, Amatisse. Wow, let's see. I guess they all know who they are. We'll do a little bit here. Set, Newt, let's see. And Pooh segment, Sachet. I guess that's a good enough, that's best. You know what? That was spiritual. Because a part of this lecture is based on best. And we're going to put the God Bass and Bastet. Ashe. Because we had 2 cats we started feeding, 2 stray cats, a month before my mama made the transition. That was summer of 2006. And then in 2007, one of the cats had a litter, which was 4 cats, and then other cats started coming from every place else, and now we up to 9 cats. So we going through a big bag of cat food. We ain't talking, and cats are finicky now. The cheap shit, they just look at that. We either got to get them the Friskies, or what's that other one? No, not the 9, the other one. It's another one that's real popular right now. Meow Mix. The whole seafood medley. So they sitting around chilling. But they bring in the magic. They bring in the magic. The spirits coming through them. You see the spirits coming through them. So we're going to get into that science. We're going to get into that science. I went into it a little bit last night on this awesome thing we did last night. It was almost maybe, we did 3 hours last night, so we got into that and also. So we dealing with the cats right now. There's a book called Mysterious and Magical Cats by DJ Conway. Get that book, because the cats was one of the most sacred things in ancient Kemet. Had something to do with the cats. And let me tell you, Mysterious and Magical Cats by DJ Conway. And I would advise you to get you a little kitten, if you can. You know what I'm saying? You know, I know you into the dogs and the Rottweilers and all that kind of stuff, you see what I'm saying? But the only thing you're going to have with them is a whole bunch of piss and shit. Them cats going to bring the magic. You see what I'm saying? You know, cats going to bring the doggone magic. You see? And we're going to get into that particular science. Y'all all right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting here because about 2 years ago, I had a drawing, and I should have Xeroxed some. It was a cat, and it had an Urzuli symbol, which is the goddess of voodoo. It was a cat with a Urzuli symbol, and it had knives sticking out of the Urzuli symbol. And we built an altar to Urzuli in the summer or the spring of 2005. And she came through and said, I'm in exile, and then a few months later they had the whole New Orleans thing went down with Katrina. So she had several escape routes that she would come to where she needed refuge, and that was one of the places and stuff like that. Because I know she must have had been refuge because we built the damn altar and money got tight. I'm like, well, hell, this is the first time I worked on an altar for months and no money came through. And then I realized, no, this was for her refuge. She'll probably reciprocate later. So we had a picture, so I found this statue of a black cat, a white cat with a little blue yarn, a white cat, and I put it on her altar. So the inner kitten showed up and started eating, and it was injured on the leg, and then it started healing itself. Now the mystery here is, why am I talking about cats? Apparently these particular cats, it was a small kitten, and I didn't see no litters or no place on the street or any other place in the neighborhood. And the only conclusion was that those particular cats, and this is why the Egyptians dealt with the cats. Those particular cats was able to go through dimensions. So what happened was, this cat showed up, and I think the cat came from New Orleans. So this cat walked into a dimension and showed up in our backyard and started feeding because it was wounded. And it was the same cat that was on Urzuli's altar. So in so many words, this was a form of Urzuli healing herself. That's why I say it's real magical, based on these mystical and magical cats. Now, where I'm going with this is this. We had another cat we called Tiger. This particular cat was wounded and had two side pus spots on both sides. And it was like a taupe brown cat, like a coffee brown cat with black stripes. We call it Tiger. So I asked the spirit realm, would this cat be able to be saved? This was about a year ago. They said, no, look like he's on his way out. And then one day that sick cat disappeared and came back the next day. It was emaciated, ribs showing and all that. But it came back the next day, fully healed, and big as a damn dog in a day. So whatever it was, this cat went into another realm. So don't think that it's sitting up and I'm talking about animals. Hell, that's what your people dealt with. That is fundamentally African. And, well, I don't want to say Africa. I don't want to reduce it to a continent because it was global, that we were all over the world. But the cat came back fully healed. Then all of a sudden, on December the 25th this year, a cat gets out in the San Francisco or San Diego Zoo. Killed one guy and wound two other ones. But yet they spent the entire summer and millions of dollars trying to fortify the cat's den, or the lion's den, or the tiger's den, or the feline den. But yet this cat got out, and to this day they can't find out how. They haven't had any conclusions. And the only two guys that didn't die, they in the hospital at one time, and they caught up with them, and they're not saying nothing. The mystery here is that cat just basically walked through that wall like you walk through a dimension. Well, number one, now it's December 25th, which is a gateway that I talked about, on a festival that's older than Jesus. And this cat just basically goes through a dimension and walks through the other side and starts attacking people. Then at the 1st of February, they had one in a zoo in Hawaii. Get outside of the cage. And the only reason why they didn't kill it is because it got out early in the morning, the zoo wasn't open, and they was able to get it back in the cage. So here goes again. What's happening? We're talking about dimensions bumping into each other. And we're talking about, we got these cats in our backyard and we feeding them, but they're going in and out of dimensions. Going in and out of dimensions. You see, so this is a very powerful stuff that's happening. And if you go into the, other than the DJ Conway Mysterious and Magical Cat, you go into the mythology section at Barnes & Nobles and stuff, you will see, in the Egyptian section, you will see whole books on the Egyptian myths of the Egyptian based on cats. It's very key. So in so many words, these cats are harbingers of the ancestral souls. And in so many words, the ancestors can actually contact you through these particular cats, and you need to study it and become one with it in this magical aspect too. Because what we're gonna deal with today is I know everybody in here. It's evident that we need money, so we're gonna show you how to do that too to get this particular money. One is this particular thing here called the balm of Isis. And this is some stuff that's coming out of papyrus from Hemmitt, where you mix up certain perfumes to Aset, and then you invoke her by reading what she say does, and then you can ask her for money, healing, or whatever. But this is called the balm of Isis and stuff like this. That's very key. Okay. It's interesting here because we go into a few things. What time we got? I want to go into a few things.
5:04.
5:04, good. Let me go into a few things, certain things that's lining up. Number one, so like I said again, there's these dimensions are opening up. Every now and then these dimensions bump together. We got these laws, pedestrian laws down in Atlanta, whereas, they got certain stops and you got to stop your car so that these people can have a safe way to walk. But what happened was in 1999, right before the millennium, every day for several days, for about 2 weeks straight, people was getting hit by cars. And they had to have a panel to come in and see whether it was the traffic getting bad or whatever. They had concluded that it was not the traffic when they could tell what happened based on the stories, and they had concluded that it was the pedestrians' fault. And what had happened is somehow these dimensions bump into each other, and so if a person was walking across the street and was trying to calculate getting across the street, they was miscalculating and the cars was coming and killing them. And that's because some type of dimension opened up and the timing was off. You see what I'm saying? You might feel that right now, that somehow timing is off. You see what I'm saying? Maybe several hours of the day you don't know where the hell you are. You see? So things are not as they seem. So things are not as they seem. So that's very key based on these dimensions bumping into each other. Bumping into each other. Y'all all right? Yeah. Okay, so we got a few things we're going to deal with. One of the things I want to deal with, because we also talk about this Moorish thing. I went to the Moorish Science Temple, and it's interesting how this happened. The spirit came and said, Moor was the name for Osiris. I'll write it on the piece of paper. Go to the Moorish Science Temple in Chicago. I mentioned this, and they come up to me and go, hey, it's interesting here, because we got a Budge's hieroglyphic dictionary, and they looked up the word Moor, and it said Amen. Right in the hieroglyphic dictionary. Well, if you understand that Amen means, it's a title, the hidden one. Well, what is the hidden one? Osiris is hidden in Amenta, the underworld. So in so many words, but Osiris is called what? Lord of the perfect black. You see, so not only is the word Moor means Osiris or Osar, but it also means Amen in the hieroglyphic dictionary. But the hidden one is also the hidden substance, which is also another name for melanin. So thus you get the term black or Moor. You see, how things come together in synchronicity. You see them things come together in synchronicity. Y'all all right? Yeah. And it's interesting here. Apparently, for some reason, I don't know what it is about me, but they will bypass me and go straight to the brother right here. And every kind of spirit and ancestor and every kind of entertainer and every kind of God will get in touch with him. You see what I'm saying? The brother Panic right here. They will get in touch with him. So it's interesting. He said it recently. Harriet Tubman was getting in touch with him. I found out that Harriet Tubman, because each particular person that lives on this physical realm has a God counterpart, and I was trying to look for this female Anubis. And it ended up being Harriet Tubman, which is the Anput. So I find that Geraldine Pinch's book, Geraldine Pinch, Egyptian mythology. That's also the book that said that Osiris was worshipped as a woman in an earlier cult. So before Osiris was, Osar was a man, it was Het-Heru. Because Het-Heru is the divine cow, and Osiris is the divine bull. So the masculine half of that, so if the masculine half is the bull, the feminine is the cow, so the divine cow is Het-Heru, so that's a form of Osiris in another cult. Probably, you know, they got these different time zones in Hemmitt and all, and so this is where this thing comes from. You see what I'm saying? Which is very key, because when we get into the things today, we're going to be talking about the access to of the feminine half. So the first thing that does, that stops the whole bickering on the whole homosexual thing, because you don't have to resort to that, because basically, based on all the gods, you buy in nature anyway. Now this has nothing to do, but what happens is, what messed that up is the whole sexual aspect. You see what I'm saying? Now I ain't talking about going out and getting some dookie love or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about accessing your feminine half, which the gods and the goddesses all have. You see what I'm saying? So the thing about it is the reason why we can't get on that particular level, because we always dealing with the whole sexual aspect. You see what I'm saying? The whole sexual aspect. And what we're talking about here, and I go back into, at one time we were one entity and had both halves. And then it was split and became male and female. And what you like in the qualities of the female is actually trying to get back that in yourself. Let's say if you were male, you are trying to get back a part of your feminine self, and that's the qualities you might get turned on in a female, or what you like in the male, with females, you're trying to get part of your masculine self back. So we're not talking about on the sexual aspect as we are talking about an essence. And when you access that essence, you really are rolling in a whole nother level. And that's what happened to me around my birthday. It's the feminine half comes up, it's beyond the sexual thing, but this is the level of the actual God aspect. You see what I'm saying? We're going to go into the science on that, dealing with the cults in India, and also this Osirian thing, on why that particular aspect actually happened. So we're talking about an essence more than the sexual aspect. So in so many words, when you access that particular essence, you will find in so many words what you was actually briefly looking for in sex. See, sex is only a brief encounter to either try to find an essence, but you can only do it in a brief aspect. That's why orgasms, you see what I'm saying, and ejaculations are only brief. You see what I'm coming from here? That's because you're trying to glimpse into a realm of something that was split and lost. So my point here is, when I'm talking about beyond sex, when you access that realm, you see what I'm saying? You're actually finding something beyond the glimpses of it. You get where I'm coming from here? So this is some powerful shit we're dealing with here. We're actually merging in these particular mysteries. You see what I'm saying? So in so many words, you don't have to be into the slavery of being dependent upon another person for the gratification when you reaching that particular level. We're not necessarily saying that you don't need that particular person or whatever as the catalyst to try to get somewhere on the love level or on the spirit level or on the sexual level, but ultimately all these things are inside of you yourself. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That's where we're coming from. And then when you get on that level, that's when you tread into that God realm. Y'all all right? Yeah. Glory, hallelujah. You see what I'm saying? That's some powerful shit right there. So the Harriet Tubman thing was a form of that Anpu, that female thing. And I said, well, that's right. Anubis is the god that guides the souls through the underworld. And that's what Harriet Tubman was doing. She was guiding the souls through the underworld, the Underground Railroad. Ain't that some shit? So, in so many words, what we have historically, we are acting out some stuff on the God realm. It comes into the human realm, and we act it out historically. You see what I'm saying? And it makes so much sense. So I found that particular Anpu. But like I said, this brother here, I mean, we're gonna get into some of the contacts. Some of the actual contacts. You see, But let me go into this particular miraculous story. I'm gonna go into several ones and lead up to this particular story. I did it last night, but I want to give you this beautiful aspect of what happened. Now, so what we're dealing with here is this. Okay, I got close to 300 tapes out, maybe 400, miscellaneous, whatever. And I've done a lot on the intellectual path as far as the scholarship over the years. You see what I'm saying? And I realized that people say, why you and I used to travel with tons and tons of books. And you can say and listen to my tapes over the years, I've given out more bibliography that you can write down stuff.
That's right.
In the bibliography. You see what I'm saying? And I realized why I did that. Because there was going to come a time when stuff was going to start coming from the spirit world. And if I hadn't been that type of scholar that would document so much stuff, you see what I'm saying, you might not believe the spiritual experiences. But what had happened was, I spent about maybe 10 or 12 years in the academic of this metaphysics, and then all of a sudden, I started actually becoming it. So now the world that I belong to, we are actually the actual gods acting out. So when I correspond with the brother Panic, it's because we are in a certain spirit world. So this is different than the academia. See, we got the neophytes still arguing over academic concepts of history. Whether we black or white, or whether we this and we that, and whatever. But then there's a time, and that's good for the neophyte, because we always have to deal with these particular concepts. But because let me give you an example. Because we were called the Illumined ones. You okay? We do know, based on alchemy, black is actually light. It's called the black light. That's in Sufism. You see what I'm saying? There's a book called Men of Light by Henry Corbin. And it's the Sufi concept of the black light. It's a book on the Sufi Moorish. The Moorish study of melanin was done years ago in the Sufi stuff. And it's a book called The Men of Light by Henry Corbin. And it's dealing with the black light. That light that what is black is only light that you can't see based on the level where you at, the vibration where you are. Get where I'm coming from here? So, when the Moors sometimes say that the white boy took the word white and named himself white, he got that from us. But it was the light that we was dealing with, and that's the one that he knew. But if I call myself white, that will be light, the illumined one, and that's the Christ energy. And that's why you are transfixed and fascinated by white folks. You see what I'm saying? Because that was an alchemical, magical system that he got, that they took from the Moors. The Moors were the illumined ones in Europe. What they call the perfected man. The perfect man. That's in the book The Sufis by Idris Shah. The perfected man. You see, in the Knights Templar were they students that venerated the Moors, giving him the symbol of the Baphomet. That's the symbol of the devil, which is our symbol. You see what I'm saying? That's in Idris Shah's book. You see. In Capricorn, chastiser, the devil, the goat, the master, the Moor. Now, so we do know that with that particular concept of what the Moors are talking about. So it's just, it's apples and oranges. Black is light and light is black. You know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of what type of perspective you're trying to come from. So both people are right. I'm going to go in some stuff today, on Barack Obama. Anybody saw the Valentine thing on Barack Obama?
Yeah.
The DVD? Okay, right. That's anti-Obama, and I'm pro-Obama, and guess what? Both of us are right. It depends on what perspective you're coming from. They got two views of this thing and two things, and both people are right. We're going to go into that today. You see what I'm saying? We're going to go into that today. You see what I'm saying? On that spiritual level, the brother is there. And he might not even know nothing about it, because it ain't political. We're going to go into this thing in a few minutes. You see. Now, But going back, so what's happening here is I'm in a certain spiritual realm now, and as a result, I have to correspond with people that's locked into that particular spiritual realm. So what has happened here is my confidant the last 2 years has been the brother Panic, because the simple fact he is in that particular realm. You see, for some reason they want to get in touch with his ass. See what I'm saying? You know, so Jimi Hendrix got in touch with him and said something profound, and it makes sense. He said, when I passed in 1970, I had to continue my reign. So when Prince came up, I hovered over him and influenced him, and his reign became Prince. And later on, to celebrate that, Prince put out Purple Rain. And it's the continuation of Jimi Hendrix into the modern aspect of the 1980s on into the 90s. Beautiful shit. So what we have here is we have entities that when they die, like Obi-Wan Kenobi say, if you kill me, I'm gonna get stronger. So when they die, another person is influenced and carries on it. So Frankie Lyman came to him and told him, I died in 68, and this brother's born in 68.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So he'll be 40 soon. Are you already 40?
This next month.
Next month, okay.
Next month.
4. You see, in the realm of old age, that starts. It is all downhill. That shit. One day you're gonna be walking and the goddamn knee gonna go out.
Grown folk shit.
You see, you know. Now check it out. So Frankie Lyman said, when I passed in 68, the Jackson 5 was founded in 68. They was founded by Gladys Knight, but then Diana Ross took the credit. You see what I'm saying? But the Gladys Knight actually did was 68. And you know, by late 69, 70, I Want Your Back came out, and it's all history. So Frankie Lyman said, to continue that energy, I went into Michael Jackson. See what I'm saying? Makes sense.
That's right.
We get it from the spirit realm. See what I'm saying? So we got this brother. Anybody seen this thing on the original 50 Cent? Anybody seen this documentary? On the original 50 Cent? Stick-up kid, Napoleonic complex. He had a bag. He would stick people up, they said, but he was the most nicest person, would laugh and smile and all this kind of thing. He was a stick-up kid and was notorious. So his lifestyle led to him getting killed. But his energy was a godlike energy that needed to continue. And when 50 Cent, the new 50 Cent, took on that name because he heard about the legendary 50 Cent, this 50 Cent continues through him, and he's become one of the biggest rappers in the world. You see what I'm saying? And I don't recognize the talent.
Right.
What did he do that 1,000 niggas didn't do? But what is the energy? The energy is he got somebody from the other side. See what I'm saying? Get the documentary Shining Stars, Earth, Wind, and Fire. They tried from the 70s, they had good music, but when they hooked up with Charles Stephanie, that's when That's the Way of the World album comes out. Maurice White Genius hooks up with Charles Stephanie, and the shit goes to another level. That's the Way of the World, 1975. Actually, it was late 74. 1975. Spring 76, you get the Gratitude album. Then they're working on the Spirit album, and Charles Stephanie dies. And the guy, Larry Dunn, who's the keyboardist, said he was sitting at the keyboard, and he belted out this strange tune. And then Maurice White said, all of a sudden, I got a partner from the other side, and the Spirit album was great, but the next album happened to be all in all, and that's the world history right there. That's the pyramids and all that. So he had a friend from the other side helping him. See how that goes? So that's what happened with the whole 50 Cent thing. And the 50 Cent thing. So then I said this last night on the tape, but I got to give this to the people because it's such a remarkable story. a remarkable story. And it's called The Legend of Milton Leggett. Milton Leggett was a guy that was in junior high school with me. He was an athlete, and he was, you know, you got these guys, they never lift weights, but they were just born muscular. You ever seen people like that? I know people like that. I know a guy that plays for the NFL now that I went to college with, never lift no weights. He said, no, my daddy was this way, and I was this way. I was just born this way. A Herculean figure, and a Hercules is nothing but the Greek form of Horus, as well as Apollo. That's why Apollo Theater is there. That's the Christ energy. You see what I'm saying? And that's Phoenician, not Greek. Greek is basically amalgamated into that, as far as the, you know. But then again, on the other hand, come to find out, and I'm going to show you some Romans in a few minutes, there was no such thing as white Greeks until the 19th century. White Romans. I'm going to show you the Romans in a few minutes. We got two Roman brothers right, you know. But anyway, this brother was very built. The ultimate athlete. And the brother, 30 years ago, this past Friday, because down south, you know, you all get all these holidays. You know, we used to be like, damn, them niggas out of school again. Y'all got 100,000 holidays. We didn't get nothing but Christmas, Thanksgiving, and because we was in the Bible Belt, we got Good Friday. They don't even do that no more. But they used to let us off for Good Friday, Easter. All right? So this is an Easter story in part. So 30 years ago, actually 31 years ago now, 32 years ago, on Good Friday, Milton Leggett, the ultimate athlete of the junior high school, goes swimming in an irrigation pond and don't come out. Dies. And we baffled, and the mystery wasn't broke until January. He goes swimming into this irrigation pond. Y'all don't know what that is. If people from the city, they dig this big ass river or this ditch to irrigate the farms or whatever. And I learned how to swim in one of them shits. It's very dangerous because it's got this soft mud, and you can jump off and your head can get stuck in the mud and you can die. Or your foot gets stuck in the mud and you drown. You know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of, you know, you like Bill Cosby said, you know, they used to play on a hill with some cars, some little cars they make, and the hill empties out into a freeway. That kind of dangerous shit. So I learned how to swim in an irrigation pond. So this guy goes swimming in this irrigation pond and don't come out. So 2 days later, I'm in the funeral home looking at Milton Leggett in the casket, and I'm like, what the hell happened? All right. Story revealed to me the other month, and it makes so much sense. Milton, let me deal with this. Sugar Ray Leonard, because that was spring 1976, Easter 1976. Sugar Ray Leonard goes to the Olympics in August, whenever the Olympics are, July, August of 1976. And he says, once I get through with the Olympics, I'm going to retire. Why? He said because he was not made up for boxing. His hands and his bones, he was always in excruciating pain. He said it wouldn't be that bad if you just have one fight, you deal with your hands, ice them down, but you got to train for those fights. So that means he's in excruciating pain for several amount of months. You understand what I'm saying with the training? So he said I was going to retire. But after he won the Olympics, he said the decision came down. It's just quite evident. It's about money. We're going to have to do something because it's a big payday. I done won the Olympics. So the story is he goes and he wins. He knocks these people out in '77. He knocks, he does the Roberto Duran thing, but he gets that back in 1980. He's this great champion, but they say one thing about Sugar Ray Leonard, is that he was the only person, when you see those flurries that he's doing, it looks like that's some showmanship stuff, but they said those flurries actually hurt people. He's the only person that looked like he was doing something like tap dancing. Didn't look like shit. It looked beautiful, but it didn't look effective. But that's the thing that he won on. He would do those flurries, and the people would get hurt. Like, take for instance, Thomas Hearn. Thomas Hearn knocked this nigga eye out damn near. And he did a flurry on Thomas Hearn and damn near knocked Thomas Hearn out of the ring. Remember that? 1980, fall 81. Okay. The mystery here is this. And that's how he stayed the champ. He would, if his eye wasn't messed up, he would have done a lot more. But how is it a person who's getting ready to retire, because his hands are in excruciating pain, become the champion of the world, and then his flurries are that affected? See, to me, if your hands are aching, you can't be that affected. Well, this is the story. There was two sisters down in Mullen, South Carolina, whose down in Mullen, that's where I'm from, this small town, 6,000 people. One sister has, that moves to Maryland, one sister has Sugar Ray Leonard. The other sister has Milton Leggett, the guy that went into the river and didn't come out. And then it all came together. I said, oh my goodness. Milton Leggett went into the river into the irrigation pond on Good Friday of 1976 so that he could get to the Olympics in August of 76, because he was the athletic figure to help out his first cousin, Sugar Ray Leonard, whose grandmother is from Mullen, South Carolina. And his mother was from there, but she moved to Maryland. One stayed in Mullins. And he used to say, and even when it came to Thomas Hearns, and this is what they said, what's this guy? He's now he was big time coach. He does the commentating on he's a coach, but he's a trainer, but he's also the black commentator on HBO. Emmanuel Stewart said that Thomas Hearns, when he's about to be beat, he could go inside and come up with something. He could reach deep inside himself and come up with something. That which he was reaching deep inside was Milton Leggett. And he was the person who was the athletic person who was able to take Sugar Ray Leonard to the championship, a person who was going to retire because his hands wasn't a certain way. His first cousin, who went into the lake, went into the irrigation pond so that he could go to be that extra thing for his first cousin. And the rest is history. So here we're talking about, it's a fascinating story, but here we're talking about on what the Africans was doing when they was actually worshiping or paying homage to their ancestors. They was paying homage to an extraordinary amount of power. It's just that we, as slaves or as people that separated from the ancient world thousands of years, including the Africans, forgot those particular science and those particular mysteries. See what I'm saying? So it was right there in the movie Ray. When Ray went through the whole dope thing, and he went back and he saw his mama and his brother that died, and he said, I wish you all could have been there for my career. And they looked at him and said, we were. It was probably his fucking career. If you understand the ancestral thing. You see what I'm saying? So that's some amazing things. That's some amazing things that's actually going on here. So we're getting close, but see, if we deal with it, the intellectual level can only take to a certain point. Then you have to cross into the spirit level. And the spirit level takes a little bit of confidence in the stuff around you, because you don't have religious doctrine and other things to go by. It's only your own experience in these particular things. See what's coming on here? And so what's going to happen here is now your powers are coming back. We'll go into all of that. But you're going to have to pay attention to very small things. And those small things you pay attention to is going to be the things that's going to help you in this particular power. First thing you got to do is, number one, is this. You got to get out of the fear of what this white man gonna do to you. What I'm saying is this, because part of the Afrocentric community, part of the metaphysical community is you come in and you get all this stuff of what's going to happen to you and will happen to black people. Well, dead black people, shit happens daily. Deal with it. What can you do? They're dead. But when it comes to your conscious self, whenever you contemplate what's going to happen to you, you give this white boy power and you might invoke those things on you and you're protected from that.
Perfect.
See what I'm saying? Now this is the key. This is the key. And this is why the brother C. Freeman L., the master, he told us, he would say things 10, 15 years ago, 10, 13 years ago, that is just not coming true. But that's a true master. When he first hit, you just pass up, oh, you know, whatever, this nigga crazy. Old ass nigga, you know. But years later, the stuff comes true. So he used to tell us back in 1990 and 1994, quit talking about the white man and complaining about the white man and giving the white man power. You see what I'm saying? Now, you get people coming for you with doom and gloom. And what that does, it cuts your power base, because guess what? The white boy ain't got no power. He's run out of power. His power is fear. If he can get you to believe he's still in power, he can delay your fucking power.
Shit.
See what I'm saying? He ain't got no power. You see? Nigga getting caught spending $80,000 on prostitutes.
Right. What's that?
He's in a mess. She ain't got no power. You see? Now, so the key here is you got to get out of this fear. That's all he got. Case in point, King Alpha plan. I used to use it too, till I found out it was put out by the United States government, and they gave it to the black community, and give you a dossier, a lineup of what they're gonna do to you, and you put this shit in your psyche, and guess what? They never have to execute none of that concentration camp and none of that shit. Because they know the rule. The rule is there are devices that's in the body that will come online immediately when the race is threatened for extinction. Now that's the stuff that the East Indian government found out in 1975 when they put this, when they started studying the chakras and the kundalini, and they basically what they did is they had the government come in and give a grant or allocate funds to study this, and the conclusion was that the chakras, the kundalini, the third eye, and all of this stuff, when you are threatened for extinction, these things come online and you become a Superman. It's called Firestarter. Remember the movie Firestarter, the little Drew Barrymore? Start burning up shit. You see what I'm saying? So the key here is to never come in with an army and line you up to go to concentration camps. But the mystery here is to let you think that you go into a concentration camp and keep the fear on you because you still think he's all powerful. And everything he ever does to you is covert. What can he do to you that he ain't already did to you? See what I'm saying? So the King Alpha plan was put out by the government for you to respond to. So that you can have a fear. He can't do nothing. You see? See what I'm saying? If you know what time it is and stuff, I'm lonely for action. I'm like, I wish a motherfucker would come up in my space. You see what I'm saying? You see. But I know what I'm capable of doing. You see? What I'm capable of doing. So we got to get out of this fear that all this stuff is going to be done to us. Don't you know when they do shit to you, they never announce it? First of all, the King Alpha plan was taken from a damn novel that some white boy wrote. That the government said, hey, this is some good shit right here. It was a fucking sci-fi novel. And they made it policy, and they said, put it out to the black community to keep them in fear. They can't do shit. You see what I'm saying? That's what time it is. And our magic is stronger now. fuck around and they be walking around with little small heads. The only reason why I don't execute this stuff now is because I don't have time. And I'm too damn lazy. I'm too lazy. Yeah, I might fuck around and get hungry and say, call it all off. You like to been dead, but hell, I got to go get this Big Mac. That quarter pounder with cheese. But hell, he put out the movie Fast Food Nation. Anybody seen this shit? Fast Food Nation? He telling you how he kill you every day. How many they say a hamburger got? How many? It can be meat from how many plants?
1,000.
It can be meat from 1,000 packing plants in one hamburger. You talking about King Alfred plant? Then they show in the movie 2 people get to fighting around all the cows. Don't you know what happened when all that's going on in the energy of the meat? It's called Fast Food Nation. That's an awesome one. They got one worse than that, but they say you won't want to eat nothing. They got one, I forgot what the name of the shit is. But anyway, they say that the meat from these ground beef come from thousands of different places. You might have some shit come from Arizona, some shit coming from Maine to get in one hamburger. You see what I'm saying? Huh? All kind of stuff. Oh man, they do all that. Might be some damn hoofs. Might be some hoofs. I might have been into a hoof before. What the hell is this?
That's hoof.
It's a hoof. So I mean, don't work. So all this King Alfred plan in that field. Hell, we used to do this. Go downtown Atlanta and eat a McDonald's fish sandwich, and my mouth would get numbed up like cocaine. And we knew that the crack, because you was predisposed to the crack from the damn fast food. And you wonder why a person go get on smoke of crack one time and he hooked. That's because he was already semi-hooked from the McDonald's fish. You see? Because we still baffled. I knew one nigga went and smoked crack for the first time, called his wife home and said, I'm on crack now. I'll never see you again. One day. And the only way that could happen, he was predisposed to something in his diet that wasn't cooked at home. Next thing, if you don't like somebody, and if you got an inkling that a motherfucker don't like you, don't eat lunch with them, don't eat dinner with them. Bottom line, if you eating your food and a nigga get nasty and start cursing and going all crazy, leave it right there. You see what I'm saying? We talking about atmosphere. And so we don't want to hear nothing about, okay, sister, I don't get along with you, but we going to break bread together. No, you get ready to get fucked up. Don't eat nothing around a person that don't like you. This was in the 60s. My mother went to a hairdresser, got her hair done, came home. My father said, tell me you didn't go to that bitch's damn parlor. Said she jealous of you because she want me. And a month later, her hair started falling out. Now, it didn't fall out for long because it wasn't a magical thing, but nevertheless, it did have a reaction because she had somebody doing her hair that didn't like her. See what I'm saying? So you don't supposed to eat nothing around nobody that you don't like. You see what I'm saying? So that's one of the missions we talking about, those force fields. You see, where was I? Anyway, let's go on. But like I said, in order to get this magic to work, you can't succumb to the fear of what the government gonna do to you. They can't do nothing. The magic now here is to convince you that they can do shit to you. They started it with the King Alfred plan. They knew damn well they couldn't come against you and line you up for concentration camp because you got devices in the body that will come online. You see? Remember Farrakhan said in the 1985 power tour, if your slave go to war with you, we will win. That's because you got that many people coming online. I saw it with Katrina. when T.D. Jakes and the preachers was had it up to here, and for 1 minute they became men.
That's right. Yeah.
And so when your boy Kanye West said that Bush don't like black people, Bush got him back. Now they killed his mama because of this shit. But he stood up. When he said Bush don't like black people, they said, oh, call in the agents. And they called up T.D. Jakes. But T.D. Jakes had seen how people being left out there for 5 days, and that shit was not even that whole we shall overcome shit and we are the world. None of that shit was hitting. The best was all black people woke up for about a week with Katrina. I mean dead black people. And they called and said, what about Kanye West saying this? He said, well, that's the going view with most of the black people in this community when you leave people out there for 7 days or 5 days. What? He said, don't tell me I had people out there in less than 24 hours. You left them out there on purpose. This is T.D. Jakes. You see what I'm saying? So my point here is there's events that you can be confronted with that you could come online. And there's several metabolic endorphins in your body that make you into Superman. See what I'm saying? That's why the sign this year is doing the NBA slam dunk contest. I've been missing them for the last 4 or 5 years because I can't catch them. And I saw it. I turned it on, and a nigga jumped through a hoop with a Superman cape on and a Superman suit. I said, don't take that as a joke. That's a fucking spiritual sign. And these niggas done took this dunk thing to a whole nother level. These niggas is flying. What, they flying from the free throw line with no shoes on? So they already know there's things that's up inside of you. So the key here is never confront them. Just keep them scared. Right now, they say right now that you can go in a black man's front yard, you can beat his wife, you can beat his children. See what I'm saying? You can beat his dog. You fuck around, and it's police policy to never touch his automobile. Because they knew it. They done had police come up, by historical means, they done had police come up in the black man's yard and fucked around and touched this nigga car. And this nigga lose it.
Word, right?
Dick Gregory talks about that. It's a policy. It's a police policy. Go in his yard, you can slap his wife. But do not touch that nigga automobile. That's his chariot. And he that crazy. You touch that and he go off. See what I'm saying? You know. That's how serious that is. But I'm trying to say here is they just keep you in fear. You see. And that's the key, because we got stuff that's in us. How the hell I done got electrocuted on my damn near on my birthday? And that means something, you know, electrocuted. You see what I'm saying? On my birthday. You know, see, and we haven't changed yet. It's stuff that's in us. It's just our minds. And that's minds. So all of a sudden now, he doing the fearmonger shit. That's what that Iraq war is. He say, man, we losing power all over the world. They don't fear us as much. So we got to put on a fake-ass war and flex our muscles.
But didn't they find some Nagas down there? The Nagas?
They found in Afghanistan, the cult of the Nagas.
Right.
In Afghanistan. You see, in Kashmir. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? In those particular, Pakistan and Afghanistan. The cult of the Nagas. Mm-hmm. You see, down there. And ironic, they talk about it in this new book, The Secret Sauce, or the 7 Hermetic Laws. This book is off the fucking chain. Off the chain. I'll show you some pictures for it in a minute on PowerPoint. But the point is, here it is, another thing they're doing too. We knew that they built a city in Africa that we can't see. It's a fortified city. It's like a gold city. It's a crystal city in Africa. They got one in Africa. Because there's parts of Africa you can't go to. And they got one in, and so what's happening here, they funneling $3 trillion in Iraq. And what they're getting ready to do is they're getting ready to build this elite. They got $3 trillion and yet they're raising money for bulletproof vests for the soldiers. And all kind of fucked up cheap ass Humvees. And they're going, where the money going? The money going over there. That's what Halliburton is over there. They get ready to build a city in Iraq for the global elite. They already got one in Dubai. That's where Michael Jackson went. Over in Dubai. For the global elite. So they say right now, you want some money, you could go over to Dubai and do hair and be rich in 4 months. You just make it to damn Dubai. So you people that's got to have some cash, get your ass to Dubai. Do some tap dance or whatever shit you can do over there. Sell some pussy, I don't know. See what I'm saying? Sling some Peter or whatever. But get your ass to Dubai. They say you'll be rich in a year. Retire. All the money they got funneled over there. You see what I'm saying? You know. And quiet as kept. I got a friend that's in Chicago. He sells porno. He sells porno. He say when the niggas is acting funny, he sell bootleg movies and porno, and every now and then, nigga get cheap on him. He say he ain't got to worry about it. He say because the Arab men keep him in business. He say because they buy thousands of dollars worth of black women porno from him. He said they can't get enough of the black woman. He said the Arab men in Chicago, he said they buying thousands of dollars of porno from him, and the only thing they want is that black woman. You see what I'm saying? They can't get enough of that black woman. So if you don't want her, the Arab show is jacking off on her right now. Booty Talk 75. Baby got back. See what I'm saying? More better ass. You see? So I'm just trying. So moving right along. Let's go into a little bit of PowerPoint right quick.
Bobby, wait till after the break.
Want to go to break? You want to do break now? No, wait a minute. First of all, let me do this. Let me do my commercial. Deborah Blair come up and do an infomercial for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
For an hour before he even get into the lecture. He's buying all his products. See what I'm saying? Let's. First of all, like I said before, you gotta get out of this fear shit. They can't do nothing to you than you do yourself. You see what I'm saying? He only control he got is the perception that's controlled. All this what they gonna do. Do not give them power. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's all bullshit. They might run around this motherfucker, but they don't run this motherfucker. And until you realize that, you see what I'm saying? You're just stuck with that. And sometimes I think we get into the whole song and dance of this shit because we love that because we've been under the foot of this man for so long. And now the only thing he's doing is selling fucking wolf tickets. You see what I'm saying? Selling wolf tickets. You see. And so that's one of the keys. Case in point. Now, this is Aset and Isis and Osiris. Isis and Osiris, Solomon and Shiva, the god Shiva and Parvati and Uma, Lakshmi and Vishnu, Rama Sita, you see Kali Shiva, you see Krishna Radha, it goes on and on, Sekhmet and Ptah. These things go on and on. It's still talking about that male and female aspect. Now, let me explain something on what's going on here. You will have things on the physical world that plays out in politics, plays out in social, economical, psychological. And all those things might be very well what's actually going on in the apparent. But the spirit world has a whole nother agenda. Otherwise it wouldn't be. Now, in the spirit world, it means that whatever goes on the political realm, that's only an illusion. You only need to focus on the energy of it. So you know the energy of Isis and Osiris, or Aset and Osar. This is the kind of energy that permeates the physical earth. Give you some things.
Go back. Yeah.
Same energy. This is the first one, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking about an image and an energy. So on one half, you got the Isis and Osiris, or Aset and Osar. And no matter how this thing came to be, whether it was the Boule, the Illuminati, or whatever it is that say that they're going to set something up, remember the spirit world is in control. So whenever they mess around with a certain amount of energy, because they bring Isis and Osiris energy together, it doesn't matter. Because they brought it together, the spirit world takes over. Now, what happened in the spring, in the last time I came? Remember I came in the spring of the year? And I watched this guy on the Democratic thing about 4 years ago, and I said, who the hell is this nigga? Like everything else. Because I wasn't into the politics. Then I saw a presentation on him on the biography channel. And I watched this thing, I said, the red flag's going on. Why are they giving him a biography? Or whatever. And at the end of the biography, the spirit interceded and said, hold on now. Deal with this on the heart chakra and deal with this in the realm of the possibilities of what is happening on the energy level. They can deal with all the hell they want on a physical level in politics, it's the presidency. It wasn't designed to help you. Since when did you have any president where your life changed? You see what I'm saying? You like Bill Clinton, the only thing he did is hire some people on his staff and cut out all your programs around you, kill Ron Brown, and they say is one of the worst presidents we've ever had. You see what I'm saying? So it's just your perception of stuff. They said when Nixon was in, we hated Nixon because he was a Republican, but they said niggas made more money when Nixon was in than any time before. You see what I'm saying? They're not necessarily saying it was Nixon, but the point I'm trying to make here is, since when did a presidency line up with the value of your fucking life? It's not designed for that. But on the other hand, they set it up that the presidency in the book, there's a book, they did Holy Blood, Holy Grail. They did another book called A Messianic Legacy. And in that book, they said that the way that the presidency was set up, it was set up to be an earthly Messiah. So whoever sits in that seat, you see what I'm saying? That's what they was going for. Well, what about if a black person sit in that seat? And it don't have nothing to do with what he does politically, because he can't do anything politically. The country is finished. They're probably handing him a doggone sinking ship. See what I'm saying? But that's not it. They're probably giving it to him because of the simple fact they know it's over with. They can't fix it. The housing shit is gone. The stock market done crashed 3 times. The gas is gone. But that's not the point. The point here is what they don't realize is there's a spiritual connection, and when you line that melanin up, and whether you got doubts on him, that black sister right there, if that black sister gets in the doggone White House, it's a whole nother shit. See what I'm saying? You see. And he says that's his rock. So in so many words, he's not far away from the source, so therefore the whole energy is coming through the female to the male. Just like the Camite thing. Who rescued Osiris but Aset? Okay? You see, so this is what's going down. Now let me explain this to you. Let me explain this to you. I went to go do a ritual on the 1-year anniversary of my mother's making the transition in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We did a major ritual down there on the beach to Yeminya and to my mother, which is called, her name is Mentep Sing Sing in her spiritual name now. So each one of your ancestors, when they get out of the physical body, they have spiritual names. and they have spiritual names, and that's what you have to line up. So a lot of you all haven't really gotten and been in touch with your ancestors for the simple fact you're still trying to call something about some person when they was living in the illusionary world, and that person is gone now. The only thing is that person has a soul, and that soul has multiple lives, but it might have a new name, which is the name that permeates. So basically what you have to do is get a reading and ask somebody to have your ancestors come through to find out what their new name is, and that's how you tap into them. You see, even my mother, when she died, when she made the transition, she said, look, I'm no longer Glaciria Hemmitt. I'm Menteb Sing Sing. So if you call me by that, you know what I'm saying, I can't come by that because that particular person is dead. You see. That's just a program, an illusionary person that doesn't exist anymore because it never existed in the first place. The only thing that exists is your soul. So now, we was down in Murder Beach, South Carolina. I amassed 75 Egyptian statues, and there was a tall Anubis statue, and the Anubis came through, and Anpu said, I know you're not going to leave from down here and not buy this statue, so I had to go and buy this tall statue. Put the statue up, a dog came across the street and was posing just like Anubis the day I put the statue in the house. So he came through, and we had to do a ritual for Anpu Anubis for 7 days. And then on the 7th day, on that Sunday, we had to do a feast where we had to feed all the deities. Now I got 9 altars, and there were 72 Egyptian deities alone. And that ain't including the voodoo, the Yoruba, the stuff from India, stuff from Asia, stuff from around the world, even Native Americans. So we had to fix all this food for every entity that we had in the house, and that was a hell of a lot of them. The day we did the feast, Asa Hilliard died. We said, Asa, who were you? He said, but of course I'm Anubis. Why? He said, because I was one of the people that was one of the initiators of the whole Afrocentric thing as far as the whole Kamite thing. So we did the Kamite thing. So what happened was that Anubis said, well, Asa Hilliard, come to find out, was a form of Anubis. But guess who brings Asa Hilliard's body back to America? Barack Obama. He dies in Egypt. Barack Obama is the one that brings the body back to America. Might have been a little boule thing, but it doesn't matter. Barack Obama was an Anubis figure. And so therefore he took the mantle of something, and although he might not even be aware of it, because there's things that's happening in one world, and there's things that's happening in another world. You see, either way, we still talking about this Isis and Osiris energy. You see what I'm saying now? What had happened is this. Although these people have to be a certain way with the government to get to even run, they figured that this guy wouldn't last past the primaries. And what happened was the Bilderbergers gave the go-ahead for Hillary Clinton to be the Democratic nominee and the president. But what happened was but they're playing with fire because of the simple fact, they said, we'll put this Negro up in here. He's near to us, but he won't last that long. And this man done won most of the whitest states in America. That means that there's a spirit realm that's superseding the political realm. Now, and it's interesting because Valentine, I think they got a tape talking about Barack Obama and whatever he is based on, I don't know, the Illuminati or whatever the stuff is as far as the ruling powers, whether his family or whatever. But nevertheless, you can't fuck around with the spirit world because the spirit world rules this. And this is what's happening to the white boy. He can't figure out how his particular candidate is already lost. As of last week or 2 weeks ago, she cannot win the Democratic nomination. She don't have enough delegates. And she's too far behind. So the only way that she can do is to go and hope the super delegates put her in, and the super delegates say, we can't put you in because we're going to lose the entire loyal black people that we've had since the 1930s. So therefore, in order not to destroy our party, we'd rather just give it to him, and we could take our chances on McCain winning. See what I'm saying? Even she is voting for McCain. Talking, you know, even she said that. But this is the mystery. The ancient indigenous people can see death on a person. I saw it. I said, this man is getting ready to die. So the people from China called and said, why would you run a sick candidate? So this is the mystery. He's going to have the Democratic nomination. Hands down, they already know it. So what they did was they started the Jeremiah Wright thing to weaken him for McCain. Because Hillary is already gone. Even the head of her party, even her strategists and all of them said she's already lost it. She waited too late. You see, they waited too late because if they wanted her, they should have did the Jeremiah Wright thing 2 months ago. But the spirit world made sure that he was fortified in what it was, so when they put that down, it wouldn't make no difference on the Democrat side. He already had that. The key here is with the McCain thing is McCain is not going to make it to fucking November. Therefore, Barack Obama becomes president. You see what I'm saying? Mark my word on McCain getting ready to croak. You see, China knows it. I saw it. And most spiritual black people look and see it and go, this man is a walking dead man. You know? He's not a healthy 73-year-old. You see. The point I'm trying to make here is, now what does this have to do with us in spirituality? He is only a symbol of what is going on in your spiritual lives. It has nothing to do with him as far as him, the person, being able to change your life. Psychologically, it can do some stuff. To imagine that sister being in the White House. Automatically, a nigga walking, just bumming around the gas station and go, well, I might be a bum around the gas station, but at least I got a brother in the White House. See what I'm saying? And they are a nice looking couple. Fuck the dumb shit. You see what I'm saying? Now, the mystery here is, he is only a symbol of what is going on in your lives not right now that you ain't figured out. You have already got to the level of energy and power that even they can't even stop somebody from winning their fucked up primaries. That's the energy. So it has, so he is only a representation of where you are spiritually. You just don't know it yet. Because you're still looking at the people and the possibility of him being able to change your lives. And nobody can do that. Because it's, and I'll say it again, I have to say it all the time. It is not slated for you to do well on the physical earth. It is slated for you to have another reality. I can't reiterate this more. If you go back and look at all the text, and I have to say this over and over and over again, you're not going to have utopia in a financial bliss and a utopian on the earth plane. You did that shit when you was in Hemmitt, when you was in India, when you was in China, when you was in all the other civilizations. You went to sleep and failed not to come back and start running this goddamn godforsaken planet anymore on the physical realm. You went to go to another reality. Now that's no more than the Sunday go to meeting Bible tell you. And they got it from us. If you don't know nothing, to sit up and think that you're going to have economic parity and a utopia in a financial bliss and black people that's going to come about and just be happy-go-lucky when you already did that for millions of years. You see what I'm saying? If you don't learn anything, this is about you going to another species, another entity, a higher form, where you don't have to take a shit, where you don't have to worry about what kind of food you can eat, and where you don't have to appease this ego. Life itself, human mundane thought itself, is the most evil thing in the universe. That is the evil. Humanity is the evil. It ain't about black and white. Humanity is the evil. And the only reason why you don't accept it is because you're on the mundane level. So don't get into the politics. He is only an ember. This image is nothing but a modern day image of this same idea that the Egyptians had before. And this idea is nothing but the two polarities of your own soul. You see? So that's what this is about. So when you look at it, that concept, then you can understand, because it supersedes what people have in their minds. Barack Obama can no bit more lead you to utopia than anything. Now they can psychologically, what that can do for black people is unbelievable. But on the other hand, you don't get the point. The only reason why you are seeing this person a footprint away from the presidency is not so he can be the president so we can show white folks. It is some indication of your own spirit rising. You understand where I'm coming from here? Are you getting what I'm saying here? You see what I'm saying? So he's only a monitor, you see what I'm saying, of something that is going on inside of you. And it is rising at a certain point. It is rising at a certain point till it's taking over the government. But it takes over the government physically. That leads to something spiritually. Obama, the OB, stands for serpent, kundalini. Oh, it's a voodoo thing, Oba. Later on, Obia. Oh, let me read that. I'm going to document this shit. Let me document it. Document it. This is, let me get my damn glasses. You got to look forward to at turning 40. OB, a serpent, a voodoo symbol for the Ophidian cult. That's a form of pre-dynastic Egypt. Obia, it's O and the Ba. You know what the Ba is? That's the soul. So we're talking about the serpent and the soul. So we ultimately talking about a rise of kundalini energy. And this is what's taking over the government because they never intended him to go this far. So he said that Jeremiah Wright was his spiritual leader. So they started looping Jeremiah Wright's sermon from 10 o'clock Friday morning to 8:30 Friday night last week, and a tornado came through. Goddamn America, goddamn America, America coming home the roof, goddamn America, goddamn America. And that energy, so a tornado came through and damn near knocked down CNN Center in Atlanta. So this is the power that he said. So now, they didn't know where it came. They didn't know where it came. The next day, they kept doing it the next day because they didn't figure it out. A hailstorm came. They didn't report on that. The very next day, a hailstorm came. And the same time the hailstorm came, the very next day, the crane fell and busted in them buildings in New York. It fell in New York. You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about there's a higher energy working here. You see what I'm saying? There's a higher energy working here. You see? And so this is the type of energy that's going down. You see. So look at it on that particular level, letting you know they don't have the power because they wouldn't dare chance their government to a nigger. Remember they said that in Trading Places? Do you think I give my family business up to a nigger? All right then. The only reason why he's going this far because they can't help it. White women falling out. He turning out stadiums. So yes. Now, is he aware of it? He probably is not aware of it. You see what I'm saying? I'm talking about as far as the spiritual aspect. But I tell you what, I know he got a glimpse of it because when he did that fucking speech on race the other day, I said this shit is impeccable. And this is where you know it's a spiritual aspect. Because if he was anyone like the black leaders we got before, he would have gave up and disowned his preacher. And he didn't do it. Now, to keep his presidency, he had to denounced what they call incendiary statements. That's just to save some face. He is running for the president. You see what I'm saying? That's politics. But when it came down to the black community or whether he could go back to Chicago, he knew goddamn well that he could not denounce the president. This got, what, 800 members or damn near 1,000? 8,000 members? That meant that he would be denouncing the black community. And when it all came down, he said, I ain't going that fucking far. Hell. So right there, that lets you know character. You see what I'm saying? Would other black leaders do that?
No.
See what I'm saying? So my point here is, and I think that the spirit world brought the Jeremiah Wright thing up and said, look now, you got this, but you got to tap back into the energy that brought you here. So this was a wake-up call. And so when the energy that brought him there was the black community and that same energy that he's a part of, you see what I'm saying? Then what happened was, that's when he went to the crossroads. And they said, now if you can go to the crossroads on this, you get the power behind you. And the crossroads was, you're not going to give up this man who was actually talking the truth. Ain't nothing that motherfucker said on there that wasn't true. See what I'm saying? You know, I just think that other people, like Dick Gregory, is on TV. Every time you look up, you see this nigga on TV. And he know more stuff on the AIDS thing than anything. So he could have came to my man back and brought documentation. Yes, we got Jack Feller, we got other people and different people that did with the L thing, but we are not the people that's already conducive to TV. We're not the people that they've already deemed that. So he could have went on there and they might have thought he was going to say something else and he would have brought the facts. You see what I'm saying? But we don't have people coming to the back because the simple fact here is all them niggas are sold out. You see? But, so they leave a nigga out there hanging. You know. But the point I'm trying to make here was everything the man said, and he was standing on truth. So if Jeremiah Wright was standing on truth, you see what I'm saying? He knew that he had to line up on truth, because if you denounce truth, then it's over. So he did not denounce the truth. He might have said what he did. He said, but I can't disown this man. You see what I'm saying? Because he knew that in his heart, that shit was right. Only a fool would not know that's right.
He said, my mother talked against black people. That means I disown her.
Yeah, he said, yeah, I can't disown him no more than I can disown my grandma. You see what I'm saying? So my point here was, there's a spiritual force going on and uncaught the white man by the nuts. You see what I'm saying? He knows it. He knows it. They got to contend with this nigga. But there's the 1-2 punch. The 1-2 punch is old grandpa getting ready to bite the dust. And it's over. It's over. And if he don't bite the dust, it's because they already intended to put Obama up in there because they cutting and running. All the businesses is in Europe. He ain't doing nothing but inheriting a burning building. You see what I'm saying? But what they don't realize is it ain't burning at all. We're just moving crackers out of the way for us because there's a spiritual force getting ready to come down. You see what I'm saying? The only thing you got to do to not fall prey to it is don't get caught up in all this materialistic bullshit. When it come down, you know what I'm saying, a sandwich here and a sandwich there, a drink of cold water will suffice. You see what I'm saying? If the financial crunch come down. You know what I'm saying? Y'all niggas know how to survive. You see what I'm saying? A few canned goods here. Pay this bill one day. Pay this one next month. Come on, y'all know this damn shit. You experts in this shit. You see? But inheriting a burning building. So that might be the move. And that, if it became don't die, is because the simple fact here, they plan on giving it to Obama anyway, but what they don't realize is this. You cutting and running, motherfucker, you retreating. Leave it for the gods to take over. Now what's going to happen? We're not going to run America after they leave for the simple fact. We can't. We too fucking inferior. We're not inferior in the bad thing. We're inferior on the spiritual level. We have left this shit behind because we've done it for 1,000,000 years. So it's time to go to a whole nother level. That's why you can't do stuff. You remember being around when you ran the stuff. You see what I'm saying? You ran it for thousands of years unopposed. Because there wasn't nothing on the earth but you at time. So it's not that you're inferior In the bad aspect, you have left this behind. That's petty. You see what I'm saying? You're going to a whole nother level. Y'all all right?
Yeah.
Now look at this one. There, he doing the dance right there. Yeah. All he had to do is move them hands down a little bit further and he'd have had it. But he's trying to be decent. He got little white folks watching. You see. This is a Malcolm X shot.
Ain't that right?
But he talked about Malcolm X.
And he talked about Malcolm X in the book that Malcolm X spoke to him.
That's right.
He said Malcolm X spoke through him. I wonder what Malcolm said, but we can find that on the hookup. Because that's a Malcolm X picture there. You know this shit is scaring them. So my point here is, you can talk, yes, and the stuff that Valentine is saying is probably right. But guess what? There's one level, but then there's a spirit level and what the spirit has to say about it. This is some powerful shit. I don't give a damn what you say. You must be crazy as hell to say, even if that sat in the White House, that wouldn't be a change within itself.
Yes. Yes.
And melanin is called chaos, and in chaos, change is supreme. That's Phil Hines' book, Condensed Chaos. Or Phil Hines' book, Prime Chaos. Chaos means change is supreme. What do you mean? It creates, but it don't replicate. You create a music, and you move on, and you got people doing break dancing and shit you was doing 20 years ago. You see what I'm saying? So you give stuff to the world and you go on. You give them blues and then retire from it. You give them jazz and leave it alone. You see what I'm saying? You left rap alone too. Because I don't know what that shit you're putting out now. That southern shit. End of the line with that goddamn bullshit.
Word.
That southern stuff is end of the line. That's when it fell. I gotta give you that now. The shit from New York kept it at a certain level. Because you was trained at that level. But that southern shit, what is that? It ain't. That's some stuff that need to be at Guantanamo Bay. Because it's disrupting even if you thinking this stuff. There's some stuff that's going on with that. And after the government done got with it. You see what I'm saying? See, I don't know what that shit is. But my point here is change. And he's running on that change thing, but he's saying a mantra. He's saying a mantra. You see, yes we can. You see what I'm saying? Now, before we would look up at a God in the sky, but now the gods have returned. It's us. And if you got a God saying that, you see what I'm saying? Then you got something. You see, there you go. That's his power base right there. He stood with truth. Hey, he stood with truth. And truth showed him how powerful it was when they knocked down the CNN center. You see, it don't matter what white people think. And not only that, they can be disappointed and still gonna lose this shit. Because they not together on nothing. You mean the best you got is a Hillary and the best you got is a McCain? Or look like one of them cats with no hair, Mr. Bigglesworth, the one on that, you know, what's that, Austin Powers. That's the best you got? The spirit world is lining this thing up. It's lining this thing up. Show you what I'm talking about? A new hope. Now here's a Rolling Stone picture of March, and they got the damn aura coming out from around here. And they got it looking like those, that Martin Luther King on the back of the fan, and John F. Kennedy, and that Jesus.
Yeah.
And it says a new hope. What is a new hope? That's coming from doggone the Star Wars, the first one. Star Wars, and it was called A New Hope. That's Luke Skywalker. You see what I'm saying? There's a change coming. Hillary Clinton in the same magazine. Her last stand, end of the line. There's a spirit stuff that's happening. You see, and you know what? We know they got electronic voting. They can push a button and somebody can win. You know what? Even if he don't win, he's already won the popular vote in the minds of the people. So therefore, he did win. So they can do the thing they did in 2000. Al Gore was your president. So it don't matter. They got electronic voting. You go look at the movie Man of the Year with Robin Williams. Hell of a movie. You see, a lot of stuff going on in that movie with electronic voting. But it doesn't even matter because it's a spirit thing. And it's only talking about you winning in your spirit. And this is only a projection of what's going on the inside of you. The defeat, you see what I'm saying, of this fascist pig. You see, this is the zodiac that I was telling the people to get. We still got some left. A few of them, you see, with all the Egyptian deities, the Camite deities. Here's two brothers. This is your original Romans. This is your original Romans. They don't even show this picture. They just snooped these pictures out this year. These are your original Romans. This brother here would be one of the original Romans. They two brothers, but they would not look like these white folks you see today. And the Greeks were darker than them. You see. Those are your original Romans. Now here's a picture of a goddess Tara, and also she's traced from the goddess Uma, Parvati, which is the wife of Shiva. And it's interesting because C3 Manel, he lectured at a place called Culture Communication or Black Media, and that's where I started out. But we started out, the sister who owned it was called Uma. And later on, I said, well, what they said, that was one of the priesthoods that you came up under. You started out with your first lecture under Uma's house, Black Media, and so did C3 Manel. But Uma is later on as Tara. Now, Tara was a person that was instrumental in my mother's transition. And she's doing what is called the mudras. And it's ironic because this is one of my mother's pictures before she retired from teaching. And she's doing the mudras. And the thing is, the peace sign is the mudras, because this was the same entity that was with her when she made the transition. And here it is, she's doing the same mudras before she retired from teaching school. You see what I'm saying? This is the god Melektos. This is the god Melektos, that's from Iraq, Kurdistan, the Kurds. So it's the serpent, and they're trying to go over there, and they probably building they don't know where the $3 trillion went. They're trying to build a paradise over there. You see what I'm saying? They're trying to worship him, but he's a blue god, and this is a Shiva of that particular land. Which would be Osiris in Egypt, Melektos in Kurdistan or Iraq or Babylon, and Shiva in India. Same entity. Which is called Bishaitan. You've seen these before. This is the one in the book The Oracles of the Illuminati. It was also in Eric Van Daniken's book, where they went over there trying to get these particular pictures in the Baghdad Museum. And this is a female aspect, and here's the male. Here's that same Isis and Osiris. Isis and Osiris. You see what I'm saying? Obama and Michelle entities. And they went over there to retrieve these things, trying to get a magical talisman. But the magical talisman is in the West. Somebody asked the question, what is the greatest place in the universe based on what the Egyptians say? America is the greatest place. That's right. This greatest country on earth was given to them by the Moors. The Moors saw the vision of the new lot of Camelot in the West. Osiris is called the Great Westerner. We are in the damn place. You see what I'm saying? You ain't got to get scared and run no place, because nowhere you go on earth, they're going to accept your ass, especially not Africa. Let's not be funny with this mess. You see what I'm saying? Like, man, so you can sell my goddamn ticket. They ain't going to accept you there. You can't go no place on it because you are where you're supposed to be. Because this is the place, the destiny in which all the ancient people saw these people in this particular land. You see what I'm saying? Saw these people in this particular land. The people, the Nagars, which was a set in Afghanistan and Pakistan, those are the same cult. Some of them still exist that said that there will be a group of hidden gods in America, and they were celebrating at 99. That's us. Now this is an interesting point here, because this is the two lovers tarot card. I've shown this many times. Crowley had a vision of this, and the angel Awas put this back together. This is the lovers in the tarot card. And what it is, it says this is the Moorish chief. This is the Moorish chief, and this is a white woman. So this is a black man, this is a white woman, and there's a union. Now what is going on here? The story was, Sheikh Anta Diop recognized it, I think in cultural, African presence. No, what's the one? Myth. African origins of civilization, myth and reality. And I had a discussion with a guy maybe about 20 years ago on this thing. Well, 18 years ago, it was in 1990. And it was saying that the Egyptians had something to do with the Europeans. Part of them that wasn't based on genetic, because there's two aspects of the Europeans coming about. One is climate adaptability, and the other one is the genetic experiments. Well, the one with genetic experiments, they left them up there for thousands of years. So the Moors, when they came out of the Egyptian mystery system with the last invasion of the Arabs, they had to come in, and it says right here in this particular book, one of the goals of the Moors to bring and introduce alchemy to Spain and Europe was to make a non-aberrant man. So an aberrant man, aberrant means abnormal, unusual, unnatural. So the Moors had to come in with these experiments to make a non-aberrant man. So I'm thinking Frankenstein when I read this 14 years ago. Well, how can you make a non-aberrant man if what's called it? It's simple. You put your penis in the vagina and you emit your seed. You remember they said, I think it was Paul Mooney on one of his tapes said that that old boy, what's the guy that had the radio show with the curly hair, old nigga, Howard Stern, talking about black people couldn't invent nothing. They came inventing nothing to make their hair straight. He said, I'd kick that white boy's ass if I'd have heard that. He said, yeah, we got something to make our hair straight. We'll fuck all the damn white women.
Who said that?
And our seed will make our hair straight. So what had happened is this. The Moors, this is some stuff, and this is some stuff, it's in this book, People of the Secret, Ernest Scott. He didn't go that far. But what really happened was, they went up into Europe for 800 years, and what they did was, they used to have a form of slavery. It was like a servitude thing. It wasn't the disciple shadow slavery we have in America, but they went up in there and they got, for 800 years, what they did is they had sex and mingled with these white women to breed a seed of Europeans back into the fold of normal. So what happened was, after they were ousted, parts of the European, and one of their things was to graft out that Moorish seed. That's what your Jews was doing. Remember Francis Cress Wilson said that. They went on a campaign to re-whiten themselves. And they was getting run out of all the countries because they had that black element. And to this day, the people who know the history say they ain't nothing but some niggers. So they were like the higher thing, but there was several people over there. Later on being the Melungeons and all that. So in so many words, what this is also saying is this. Now I'll get to it in a few minutes. Everything that white ain't necessarily white. They was not able to graft out that seed. You see what I'm saying? And this is one of the mysteries of the Moors. Case in point, that's Ice T. Girl, what's the name gave me this? That's a Hottentot ass. I don't give a damn what you say. I'm sorry. See what I'm saying? That's Hottentot, and that is not indicative of a mutant. See what I'm saying? Now, if her hair was not, and most blondes are not naturally blonde. So you're looking at right there is a light skin. You see what I'm saying? Like they said on Hustle and Flow. Oh, he light skinned. Ain't that a white boy? No, he just light skinned. That is not indicative of no Nordic race. So there's something rotten in the cotton going on here. They can't graft out. See what I'm saying? That ain't no injections. I don't, but this is courtesy of TJ. I wanted to show this because this one, I should have lightened it up. But this is one of the ones they don't show. They got about 5 masks, and they show most of the masks. They don't show this one because the eyes on here are human. And if you look at it, you can go into trance. And I was drawing this back in the day, back in the 1990s, and went into trance. I got a couple of pictures of it, but I wish I would have lightened it up to show you just the real contrast of it. The eyes on it are human, and they don't show this one. This is one they keep out. They show it in books on occasion. Every now and then you'll run up on it. But most of the time they keep this one out. They'll show you the other 5 masks of King Tut, but they don't show you this one because the eyes, I wish you could really see it. It is mesmerizing. I might have a few copies over there, but it can put you into a whole nother trance. This is Billie Holiday. I just threw this in here because Sarnetta got a German Shepherd named Red.
No, it's a pit.
Excuse me, a pit bull named Red. So I just threw this one in here saying that obviously Billy was up on some shit, you know. How many women you know that pose with a pit bull? You see. And it's interesting because his wife, I done figured it out, his wife done got her a new child. Because his wife is defensive when it comes to that dog. You see what I'm saying? I'm like, oh no. His wife, man, this is her rock right here. You see what I'm saying? Some of y'all niggas might have to get the hell up out of the house before that dog goes. So she's real serious about that. This is interesting. I showed this in Baltimore. This has a lot to it, but one of these things, this is also the ultimate aspect of the vagina. Here's the labia, here's the clitoris, here's the tongue. See what I'm saying? So that's also has multiple meaning, but that's one of them. I had to bring that back up. You see, that's, the clitoris is up there, the labia, which is the lips, and that is actually the tongue. And you could probably say that the head part right here would be the G-spot in the back of the wall, if anybody study the whole G-spot thing. This is one here dealing with Shiva accessing both his masculine and feminine energy. This is the stuff happens when you start getting to a high level. And what happens, you alchemically start changing. That's how you can get electrocuted. You see what I'm saying? And don't die. That's because you access that feminine and masculine aspect and stuff like that. Like I said, it has nothing to do with sex. It has something to do with an essence. An essence. And all, you see what I'm saying? And they say that this is why the women would fall out and go crazy over him. And that's one reason why Prince was so powerful in his days. Because you see what I'm saying? There ain't got no record of him screwing no men. He's a woman's man, but he's also feminine. And so he tapped into something to the point where drove people crazy. You see what I'm saying? Because he tapped into that. Michael Jackson had it at the first level until he just started pruning away too damn much. You see what I'm saying? Became a freak addict. So this is another one of the same God, both male and female. So these are the polarities that you got to access. You have to access. And what I'm trying to say here is it's an essence. It's an essence. You'll know it when it comes and all. You see what I'm saying? It's a whole nother realm. Now, this is what we want to get into at this particular time. And also, the sister Gina is here who had an unfortunate thing with her child, with her son that was paralyzed, I think about a couple of days after I came the last time in October. But I want to get into some things right here because this is the God Best, and the God Best represents the quantum realm, but it also represents the fairy realm. And see, we haven't learned about the fairies because what happened was white people, they took these fairy things and they put them on lockdown. The only thing how they do that, they just make them all white. They paint them all white. So therefore, you stay out of it. But the fairy kingdom is actually the ancestral kingdom, and that's where the healing gonna come from. So Best is the original fairy. You see, Best is also a Twa, which white people call a pygmy. But they call them subterranean pygmies. And there's a book, Pygmy Kidaboo. John G. Jackson accessed that book in his book of Christianity Before Christ. But it's a book where a white boy went down and stayed I think about 7 years with the pygmy, or he might be more than that, or with the Twa, and they told him all this particular stuff on how they had a civilization for the Egyptians, but they tore it down. What they was also telling them was a genetic memory bank of we were the pre-physical people. And now we exist. You have a physical aspect of the Twa people, the smallest people, but you have a spiritual aspect, and those are your fairies. So, the fairy kingdom, let me get you the name of it. About 10 years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, no, about 12 years ago, no, 1994, I was talking with the sister Rosalind Jeffries, and she said she'd been going to Africa since the 60s. So she got into some of my tapes. She went back over to Africa. She started asking them about metaphysical questions, and she was in Ghana, and they pointed to the trees, and there was little people living inside of the trees. And she asked them, well, why you didn't tell me? I've been going to come and hit them since the 60s. Why you just telling me this now? They said, you never asked until now. So, the name of these fairies or these entities are called the Motia, or the Katumble. The Katumble or the Motia. There's a book on it over in Ghana. Another sister went over this summer, and they showed her the fairies. So there's a race that's living concurrently with the physical race. There's a fairy race living concurrently with the physical race. You see what I'm saying? And that's the access. There's nothing but when your ancestors go, they go to live in the quantum world or the fairy kingdom. They call them Motia or the Katum Bale. Katombaly, or Motisa, M-O-T-I-A, Motia. Motia. Those are the fairies in Ghana. Now, one of the sisters I know of is called, in Atlanta, I think she's probably about 61 or 62 now. She just went back to Africa. She moved back to Africa before Christmas. Then she came back last month in February. And I said, why did you come back? She said, some little fairy people was in my room telling me to get the hell out get out, go home. Saying you need to be home because the shit is happening in the West. You see, it's happening in the West. Now it's interesting here. See what we got here. This is the god Horus, but over his head is the god Bes. And Bes is the fairy. He's the quantum realm. He is the quantum realm. That's the realm. That's the realm in where the ancestors are. This is Josephine Baker as a fairy in the 1920s. This is the god Lamb, which is called the baby of the egg, that Crawley saw, and he actually had this as an exhibit at Greenwich Village in 1919. It's the baby of the egg, which is talking about the egg head, which is the baby of the eggs it's a form of Horus, but as you notice, they say he lightened up the picture. It would look more like Imhotep. You see, they took this picture, put big eyes on it, bug eyes on it, and that became your standard alien thing. The alien, but so if they took that off, this here represents the inner soul. It's like the pineal gland. It's the baby of the egg. You see what I'm saying? So it's talking about something spiritual, but it's also representative as a fairy type thing. So all the UFO stuff, they're actually talking about fairy and they're talking about ancestors. That's why even your boy, what's the guy, 700 Club nigga, Pat Robertson, when Independence Day came out, he said there ain't no physical UFOs. He said they're angels. And this guy wrote a book called, his last name is Thompson, called Angels and Aliens. So this stuff is going on the inside. That's the fairy kingdom. Now I want to show you these. are how the spirits look. These are how the spirits look in the fairy kingdom. And this is interesting because I gave one of these to Gina, because this might be a link of healing her son, is this particular entity here. The signature, what's this thing? Signature of healing or something like that. The singers, they're called the singers of healing. So these are different ones. You see, this one here is one of the guardian of the gate. You might see some of these types of things going on at sleep at night or in visions. These are ancestors, so don't be scared. Here's the other ones. This is one for initiation. This is one for courage. These came in a vision. Sister wrote that. It's called Enchanted Fairy Tarot, I think. But anyway, what it was is the guy that wrote, remember the movie Dark Crystal? Yeah. Well, the guy who designed that was the artist who designed that is the one who did these particular things. But they said what they did was, in order to do these, they say they channel these spirits and had them come through. And then the spirits came through and directed them on how they look and how they look. And they had certain psychics to come in and they directed it so that they could make the tarot cards. You see what I'm saying? Now they have to use white people because black people are too dead to be in certain things. So they have to use white people because white people are exposed to most stuff. You see what I'm saying? They're into the witch world, and witches is nothing but the priestess of Isis. All the Wicca stuff. You see, you go and ride around, go up to Long Island, go up to the Hamptons, and see how many people got reefs on their doors year round. The reef is a gateway to another dimension, and that's where the fairies come through. So get you a reef. Even in an apartment, put you a reef on your door. You think I'm bullshit? You say that's Christmas. No, go down to Target right now. They got a whole row full of reefs. That's because white folks know what to do. You put a reef on your door and all your prosperity start coming in. There's several reefs year round. You got your green looking ones for Christmas. They got brown ones and different ones. The reef is a gateway to the fairy kingdom in the Wiccan world, which is our stuff. That's Egyptian. And their chief deity is our set. So we talk about some stuff, yeah.
Put it on the inside or the outside?
On the outside. And here's one for some reason I had this one upside down. This is one for unity. But when I look at it and stuff, you see what I'm saying? But this one here is unity, but if you really look at this thing here, if you turn it the other way, that's a fallopian tube. You see. And this is one for transformation. This is giving you a glimpse into the fairy kingdom. Yeah, the phoenix, yeah. Which is Horus, which is the soul, which is the pioneer. So these are just glimpses into this thing and all, you know. But there's books out on a field guide to fairy kingdom, to the fairy world. You go, you see what I'm saying? This is real happening stuff. Don't worry about whether they painted the pictures white. You didn't believe in it, so they believed in it. They kept the tradition going, so rightfully so this stuff's supposed to be white. Who's going to paint you and you walk around here talking about Jesus is the way. And everything else is a demon. You reject this kind of stuff. See what I'm saying? You reject this kind of stuff. Now this is interesting. This is where we get some real interesting stuff. This is the black pharaohs, which is a misnomer. All pharaohs was black. Because even if you say when the Greeks started ruling, they weren't called pharaohs. They were called Ptolemies. So the whole pharaonic line is black. You see what I'm saying? But this is interesting here because they got an exhibit down in Atlanta of this stuff. And we went to the exhibit, and they had a whole thing full of best figures. And we went there, and after we did, we went to the permanent collection where they got mummies, and the mummy grabbed hold of one of the brothers named Dean's leg, and he didn't tell us today that the mummy didn't want to let him up out of there, help the spirit of the mummy. Come to find out they were consorts back in Hemmitt. 2 days later, an entity called Hemmitt, H-E-R-M-E-K, came through and said, I am the risen form of Harmachis. That's the Sphinx. That's the Sphinx. Homunculus is the horse on the horizon. So what does this all mean? It also means that that's some shit that's happening in you with your kundalini and third eye is rising. And this entity came back and you linked to that particular entity. This shit is happening now. This is why the whole Obama thing is baffling the white boy, so they pulling out all stops. You see, they done got him connected with a terrorist guy. Not the guy from Chicago, they got a terrorist guy they're trying to connect him with. But it ain't gonna work. You see what I'm saying? It's not gonna work. So there's some stuff that came up out of here because this particular entity, Uncle Nakunsu, which was the high priest of the 22nd dynasty, 23rd dynasty that transmitted the book of the law to Aleister Crowley, he has on the same panther skin as this guy. So that's a line of priests. You see what I'm saying? And they got a whole exhibit down in Atlanta with this thing. And as a result, we go to the exhibit and this entity comes up called Hemmitt, which is a form of Homunculus, the Sphinx. And the mystery of the Sphinx, they've been trying to find the riddle of the Sphinx, but the riddle of the Sphinx is us. You see what I'm saying? So this is very powerful stuff that is actually going on. It's interesting here because this particular deity, somebody said something?
No.
Huh? No. You must have heard a spirit or something. That's some interesting shit. I heard somebody holler out and you didn't hear it. That's some spirit realm. I heard it clear as day. Get used to some shit happening. I heard it as clear as day. I wrote a pamphlet called 93 AWAS 93418 back in 1994. In 1993, I met this AWAS character that looked like this particular entity. Well, right here, hold on, go back. This particular entity at the Sphinx Metaphysical Bookstore. You see, and they had been looking for this deity since 1904. They heard from him briefly in 1979, the guy that wrote the Vodou Gnostic workbook out there, Michael Bertillot, or Bertou, as it is in French. But the shit came to us. It came to us. So what happened was, I kept this undercover and taught on it in the black community. And one day the secret got out. It was around some white boys. It was Crawleyites. And one of the guys named Ramesses Bey, which is this Moore brother, he made the transition about 4 years ago. He introduced these white boys to me, and we sat around talking this stuff, all this Crawley and occult stuff. So the white boy was so baffled, they said, we didn't know black people knew this. So he went and got on the internet and said, black Thelemites, that's the people, Thelema, who was the Crawley people. He got on the internet, black Thelemites found in Atlanta, and show you how much they don't think that they have no clue that we own to something. They laughed this nigga off the internet, this white boy off the internet. They just thought it was ridiculous that no one can possibly know this particular information that was black. So that's how they think of us, and that's the way it's supposed to be. It's always supposed to be the ones, remember in the movie Doom, the Fremen, which was the Messiah people, nobody had the whole universe and nobody even knew the Fremen was there, that even existed. Well, that's how it is when it comes to your consciousness. That's why with this Jeremiah Wright thing, they got a whiff of, and that's the first level of consciousness. And they are baffled. That's why it seems so alien to them and so incendiary. We learn a new word. Incendiary is statements. You see, that's because they had no idea that we had that kind of consciousness, and that's the first level of consciousness you can speak about in church. But they were baffled with that. What do you think about people like us? They have no idea. You see what I'm saying? They have no idea. You see. Because and that's what they always do. They always underestimate us. And that's what it is. They say when they look up, like the Fremen, when they look up, they was already ruling. And that's how this thing is going down. You see what I'm saying? They have no idea that we're this far in the particular realm. And you know what? They're just practitioners.
Thank you.
We the gods.
Thank you.
You see? So we're not talking about, they got these black witch cults, and they got these people, and they got these black magicians and stuff like that. That's baby shit. We talk about getting electrocuted. You know what I'm saying? We talk about a nigga jumping through the air with a Superman cape on at the All-Star game and doing shit bare feet. See what I'm saying? We talking about them coming, Britain say, fuck it, we gonna come and take back America. They all got on planes with no passports and went to Las Vegas and packed the Coliseum or whatever they was fighting in for your boys Mayweather. And they were singing this rituals, and something, and they kept saying it over and over. You couldn't even hear the damn people talk. And the ritual was, because they tried to do it with Jerry Clooney back in 1982 with Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes went in his little black bag and knocked this cracker out. But what happened was, when they checked the scorecards, they had my man winning up to that particular point, and all he had to do was just go last the rounds, and he would have won the fight. They was going to take it from Holmes. Well, with my man, they had him almost winning, and they was going to do the same thing. And now Mayweather, this is spiritual, Mayweather ain't knocked nobody out in damn near 5 years. He was just lasting rounds. So, very well, Ricky Hatton, all he had to do was last the rounds, and they was going to take it from him. So he was doing pot shots to try to get ahead on points. And then what happened? Something divine happened. A spirit came from another dimension and knocked this cracker out so much till Mayweather fell on his knees and started praying. Now anybody know Mayweather the most arrogant boxer there is. Just talk shit all day long. He fell on his knees because he knew he got help from the other realm. That's how our stuff is going. And it shocked him. Even the guy, when Ricky Hatton, when he woke up, he said it was a fluke. No, nigga, ain't no fluke. You got knocked out. Because what you didn't realize is that you could have came over here and you should have waited till you had a white fighter. But in the spirit realm, every now and then you got to realize this is still a Negroid you fucking with. So as a result, the spirit world was like, hell, oh no, you doing this damn ritual, your time is up. And something came through and knocked it out. It happened with Ali with Sonny Liston, the punch that you couldn't see. It happened with George Foreman.
Against Mike Moore.
Michael Moore. He just tapped him on the head. Michael Moore was out for the count. It happened several times. We could even say Ali and Foreman. Even though Foreman wore himself out, but the hit that hit him over the head was just a punk ass hit. He just fell on the ground. There's some stuff that intercedes spiritually. You see what I'm saying? It intercedes spiritually. Now all of a sudden, there was no champions, heavyweight champions left that was black. And then now you got your boy Samuel Peter became one of the heavyweight champions from Nigeria. And the first thing we got was, that was fucking Ogun rising up. You see what I'm saying? Ogun rising up. You see what I'm saying? That was Ogun rising up. So that's some major stuff. Let's see what else. Let me see. Here is the staff of Hermes, which they say this is also representative of Jesus on the cross. You see Jesus on the cross. You're going to get a lot when you get this book right here. They're going to break down stuff. The secret source. This is excellent. This is where these pictures are coming from. Here's another form of Hermes with the lamb. So a lot of this stuff that was iconology that later on was attributed to Jesus was actually predates him. Also even with Hermes or Tahuti and stuff like that. So this is the Kundalini energy, but that is still showing you the Christ energy. How much time we got?
You got another about 40 minutes.
Oh shoot, we need to go into a question and answer to get the ball rolling. because I never get a chance to do that.
You might as well finish that off because it's not
Yeah,
that many
is there
slides
some
you
more?
got. Yeah.
Let me see, is some more?
I think
Okay.
that could be it, right?
Okay, then let me see. Okay, this is interesting here. Now this is coming from, if you notice my tapes, I used to talk about this a lot in the 90s. It was also in the movie Event Horizon. What is the shortest distance between time, what is it? What is the shortest distance between time and space? It is a straight line or something like that. They say, but if you can take a straight line and bend time, you can fold time and come through with the event horizon, you can go straight through and fold time. Well, this is what this is. This is universe A. You go through a black hole, you come out universe B to the other side. Instead of traveling, you loop time. Well, here up here, they're showing this up here in this particular Egyptian boat is saying the same thing thousands of years ago. But to get this particular thing, you need to get the movie Event Horizon. Who was the author on Event Horizon? The same driver in Event Horizon, the captain of the ship, Lawrence Fishburne, later on became the same captain on the ship in The Matrix. The black man is the Event Horizon. See what I'm saying? You just forgot about Event Horizon because it came out the year before The Matrix. You see, Event Horizon came out in 98. The Matrix came out in 99 and became real popular. You can barely find the Event Horizon on DVD now. But the mystery here is the driver of both ships was the same Morpheus fella that was in the Matrix series. You see what I'm saying? What other movies where they create a wormhole and slide through? Couple of things. Huh?
Deja vu.
Deja vu. You see, this is stuff that can go on in your mind. This is stuff that can go on in your mind and stuff. And this is some stuff that obviously them cats in my backyard is going through time and stuff, or those particular tigers in that zoo did the same thing when they walked through those walls. But now these wormholes and stuff, they're opening up automatically. Now I tell you this story that I tell all the time about a sister. She's probably in her 60s now because she was in her 50s or late 40s in 94. And the story was when she was a little girl, she used to work for Nina Simone, and Nina Simone had came down and she was buying a lot of my tapes to take back to see Nina Simone. Nina Simone was very conscious and stuff, you see. And so she used to be a nurse. They got a lot of these people, they be nurses for them when they're on the road. And so she said, I'm taking a lot of your tapes back to Nina Simone. She want to see them. And she used to tell me this story about when she was a little girl. She used to sneeze and disappear. And it got a little legendary. The black community in Georgia was coming by to see him, but her mama and them prayed the Lord to take this away because they knew as soon as the white folks found out about this shit, the government was gonna snatch her up. But if she could sneeze and disappear, that meant that this was one of the abilities that we used to have that we lost. So a lot of this stuff is not no miracles or gifted, the gift. These are, a lot of these things that people have that we are baffled is nothing but the senses that we lost over the thousands of years. You see what I'm saying? So now if she can sneeze and disappear, you see, then it's possible that the scenario when I told you that we now know that they could get in a pyramid in one part of the earth and they could get in the pyramid in Hemmitt and end up in America, in Mexico, with the Native American mounds. Anything with a pyramid shape. And there's a guy named Bob Breyer who wrote a book called Egyptian Magic. He had a special on, there's more pyramids on the earth than you think. He went around the globe. And it's literally hundreds of them, if not thousands. Hell, that's 80 in Nubia alone, between Egypt and Nubia. So they could go in the pyramid, and the pyramids was ancient airports. That makes so much damn sense. But if a girl in the 20th century can sneeze and disappear, you know damn well the Egyptian priests can create enough polarity and enough force field to transport people all over the planet. And that's some profound shit. You see what I'm saying? That's profound. You see, so this is the same kind. This is coming from William Henry's book, The Gateways or something of the Blessed. And here's the last picture. We want to show this again to reiterate They ain't really get that. What they think about you. Here's the people from Katrina, black people Katrina, and on the back of a truck. And here down here, the same people they rescued in Katrina, here go the dogs sitting back on the doggone airplane. What is wrong with this picture? They on the truck, and they said, fuck that, we gotta go get them dogs. And they put them on the doggone American Airlines. It's amazing shit.
Questions?
Yeah, let's go into the question and answer right quick.
Hit that light.
Let's go into a question and answer right
Hit the
quick.
light, brother.
You know, it's never enough
Question
time.
number 3.
Yo, Bobby.
Yeah.
You know who might have manifested as the goddess Nina Simone?
Huh?
You know who might have manifested as the goddess Nina Simone?
Oh, I know she wrote a song on Damballa. And Damballa's wife is Aida Wado,
So that is a 3.
which is a form
I
of
think so.
Urzuli Danta. She's probably a form of the goddess Urzuli Danta. Urzuli Danta was the dark-skinned goddess. The same, there's a dark-skinned goddess and a light-skinned goddess. Urzuli Frida and Urzuli Danta. Well, she wrote on Damballa, and Aida Wado, we know now, is nothing but the serpent form of the Urzuli, so she was probably a Urzuli figure. Or the African Venus. Urzuli is the Venus. The African Venus is that dark-skinned sister that I was selling a couple of years ago. You see what I'm saying? She's a very conscious sister. But you can call on her. She told me when she died, or when she made the transition, to get some of her music and invoke her. You see what I'm saying? And you can use that energy, or you can invoke her for helping and healing. Give me some questions. Give me some questions. No questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, how do you learn of the Eastern, like you said, the Nina Simone transform? You said James Brown represented this
Hanneman, yeah.
society of Asia. Like, where do you research that?
Well, see, that you can research, but when you deal with say, then when you get into the spirit realm, this stuff comes by spirit guides, spirit people that even comes through you. So this type of stuff, I stress a lot of research, but then again, there's the realms where the research can't come by way of books or whatever. It has to come from the psychic realm or the spirit realm. And basically, this is it's not a very hard science to do. Here again, it's just some stuff that we don't practice anymore. You see what I'm saying? Like I say, we can get in touch with our ancestors. We try to call on them in their past earthly incarnation, and they don't be those particular deities no more. And they don't identify with those deities. You know the picture that I showed with my mother sitting at the desk with her hands up? We put that picture on no, I got 2 pictures of her that we put on the wall, but it's just one of her when she was a young girl, a young lady, and one when she was probably in her 40s, early 50s. And she identifies those as an image of a woman that identifies a goddess. But when I put the one where she's sitting at her schoolhouse, that identified occupation and that identified a certain incarnation on the earth. And she knocks it off the wall each time I put it there, near those. Now I could put it in another room, but she knocks it off the wall when I put it near those particular goddesses, saying, this is not me now. You see, this is not me now. It's just like when Malcolm X movie came out and they had a Nation of Islam and people arguing over was Malcolm right or was Elijah Muhammad right and all this type of stuff. When we tapped into Malcolm X, I said, where are you now? He said, I'm with Elijah Muhammad. So there's a whole other world in the spirit realm. He said, us people in one particular, he said the scholars hang out together, the revolutionaries hang out together, he said the singers hang out together, and they are more like muses, entities, certain types of spirit realms and different levels, and they have very little to do with the politics on the earth, and we down here still bickering over stuff like that. And in the other realm, they together, they all one. They all one. Give me a question.
You know, you talk about the chocolate, right? The
Yeah.
dark chocolate. You said it had melanin in it. How does that affect the white people? I mean, how does the melanin?
Well, that's why they gravitate towards it.
I mean, how does it?
Well, it just will give them a boost. It's more like the Red Bull for them. Take for instance, but it does heal a lot of them too. They said that a lot of girls, a lot of white girls at NYU used to get into the dark beers. You see what I'm saying? For some reason they was trying to identify with the dark man or the whatever. But with them, they get a boost from it, like Red Bull or whatever type thing.
So it gives them energy.
Yeah. Give them energy and a lot of stuff like that. But like I said, that one I just said, I bit into that. I said, man, I'll never eat no more Hershey's as long as I live. To get the real chocolate, the stuff, they just let that shit come from Europe slowly. But that was a part of it. The kings and aristocrats held on to the secrets of chocolate. And what happened was, they got a simulation version of it in America, which was the Hershey's and all that. And we've been going with that old shit, the Mars and all that old bars and all that. That ain't real. That ain't the real stuff. Like I said, this stuff I tasted at this Rita's Poet, I ain't never tasted that before, and I'm 46.
Now, because I was born and raised in England, and I always tell everybody the chocolate here is different.
Different, right.
It's not the same.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we got another one from the UK up in here. You see. Yeah, that's it. But you used to that. We been duped on Hershey's and all that stuff. But the real stuff got melanin in it. That's why they say that dark Negro. Why you go that Chocolat movie, and you see them with the two black people in France pushing the stuff in at the beginning of the movie. And that mythology they tell where they got that stuff from the Olmecs. They call them the Mayas or what, the cacao, that's the Olmec shit. That's melanin. Yeah. Give me some questions. Yeah.
Is Barack dealing with something different, Sufi? What if the name Barack is Barack?
Yeah, what's that?
You talked about biology and other immortals in
Yeah.
the East. Are there any immortals in the West, and what is their purpose?
Yeah, there's probably immortals and stuff all over the world. You see what I'm saying? Whether you know about them or not, you see. And then again, on the other hand, sometimes it might not necessarily be feasible to have immortals when, certain systems die down and they're not going to have enough people to leave the stuff behind with anyway. And that's what happened with a lot of things in the West. A lot of that got wiped out. See, the thing with India, which is so unique in any place on the planet, is India is the only place that has an ancient origin that can go back to, on the level of a Hemmitt, that the people still exist. Everything else has died out. You see what I'm saying? As far as the actual systems. That is the reason why they couldn't get to India for years. And then by the time they did start going to India, the white man was civil enough to want to try to collect and try to study the cultures other than wiping out the cultures. Let's say if they would have got to India in the time when Columbus, when he was trying to get there, then it would have been a different story. They would have been trying to wipe out stuff because it's all about the Christian stuff. But but by the time the British actually came and invaded, they were at a certain level of a mentality that they wanted to study stuff, and that's the way the Spirit did. They preserved that in India, so there we could study it. You see what I'm saying? That's the only reason why Egypt went ahead and expired. They said, well, no, we got stuff hidden in India and even in Cambodia that now we can expire. And then the Moors took all of that out of Egypt and gave it to the Europeans to civilize them to the point so when they did go up into India, they would want to study this stuff. But all that is the same people. It's a Cushite people. Drusilla Dundee Houston's book, Wonderful Ethiopians and the Ancient Cushite Empire, all that's our people. You see what I'm saying? That's our people. Out of all the systems and stuff, you can't really get, all systems are fragmented, but the one that's most intact on the planet that didn't deteriorate to that point is the stuff in India. Now, don't mistake the Indian system and the gods and all that with the people. The people, you see what I'm saying, that's a whole other thing with the caste system and all of that. But then again, on the other hand, they made sure when the people got to that particular level, the knowledge was already preserved. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, some of the biggest races on the planet is East Indians. But then again, you can't equate the modern Indian with all the stuff that they got, because that was coming from the black man and the black woman. You see what I'm saying? And the Dravidians who were still oppressed. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, so
God's children. That's what it translates.
okay. Yeah. And you might have a connection to it.
The chosen people.
You might have a connection to it. Well, no more chosen than you are. No more chosen than a nigga from Alabama.
I don't mean in that respect, just in terms of the caste system.
Oh yeah, the chosen people of that land. You are right. Yeah, as far as the caste system, you right. That up there is looking like Elizabeth Taylor compared to the one. You see what I'm saying? That's looking like Michelle Obama. They are the chosen people. They are the original people of that particular land. You see, of that particular land. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Give me some more questions.
I associate different friends and family members with different gods and goddesses. So I want to know what kind of responsibility comes with.
Well, if they dead, they just a sleeping Buddha. Ain't no sense in even burning up no energy trying to associate them with them. If they dead, you let the dead lie with the dead. And one of the most things that you can get into as far as stopping you dead in your tracks and fucking you up is when you get into this thing when it comes to family members. If you got a family member that's down, well and fine, but if you got a family member, run from them. And do not make the mistake to try to turn them on to consciousness. That's a bad mistake. Because them family members will whip your ass side your head. Because if you ever want to get a person to get zombie-like, fuck with your family members. And even Daoud standing back there had a tape where he talked about that on how when they want to hold you down, they'll incarnate two fucked up family members in there just to hold your light down. You see what I'm saying? That's why that family thing, if they conscious, fine. If not, run from them. But we get all sentimental trying to teach them something. You don't teach brother, sister, mama, none of them nothing. A king is without honor in his own home. You see what I'm saying? So you might love them, but don't make that mistake. The family member is the buck stops here when it comes to them. Because it'll have you crazy. And it's interesting because I was in a lecture one time and a girl was kept crying and crying and crying. And I'm like, what? She said, we had an aunt that would say all that shit you saying. And we thought she was crazy. And we got on her so bad and called her crazy, so one day she did go crazy. Family is fucked up. That's the most fucked up shit you got down here is family. Your family is the people in this damn room. The people on the frequency, but not a person that just came through an incarnation to get down here with some genetic shit wrapped around slime. Family is fucked up. You see what I'm saying? You shouldn't deal with them no more than you can spit out them. They say, do not count yourself amongst them. You see what I'm saying? Now you might be lucky to have some brothers and sisters. There might be some things like that in a certain amount of consciousness, but that's rare. Usually it's one per every 20 niggas walking around your neighborhood at the family reunion eating them damn hamburgers and them hot dogs. You be the only one. Maybe two from another distant part of the thing. You see, so that's one thing. So don't waste this energy with with the slime and the garbage that you call your brothers and sisters and your mama and your daddy. Might just be scum. You see what I'm saying? And you ain't never figured out why you fucked up. You ain't figured it out yet. Because you still trying to get your family down with it, and that's not what it was. You just incarnated in there to get down on this planet. But it don't necessarily mean they're your brothers and sisters. They're your brothers and sisters, let's say from 1 to 18 in the rearing process. And then after that, them fucking strangers. Them strangers. First thing you do, you die, you leave your money to them assholes, and they go through it in a month. One nigga left his brother $50,000. He drunk it up in a year. That nigga drunk $50,000 up in damn near a year. You say that's impossible. No, you must don't know niggas. That's another invention. I'm just mad I wasn't along with the party. That nigga must have had a Rick James shit going on. I'm just mad I didn't get down with that Rick James party. That nigga drunk up that $50,000. He had some fun doing it. He might not remember it, but that could have been a hell of a party. This brother hit in you. What's that?
The theories that you were talking
Yeah.
about earlier, are those the same entities from the book of Water and Spirit of Mount Masonic?
Yeah, that's the same stuff he's talking about. That's the same thing he's talking about. Those particular ones. Yeah, that's the same thing. Let me tell you. Yeah. This sister here. Okay, you had your hand up first. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you. You was gonna say that I was reading the book of Coming Forth by Day.
Yeah.
It says Amun-Ra, it's either that or the Usia. It says Amun-Ra sends the guilty to the fire of the east and the vindicated to the west, to the beauty of the west.
West, right.
And you said that America, to trace
Yes.
that Egyptian.
The word Egyptian in the latest, the Faulkner's books that came out in 2004, the word Osiris or Osar, another word for that is the West. Osiris is called the Great Westerner. We are the Osar. And the land of Amen is supposed to be, Aminta is the West.
What's the Nowus?
Huh?
The Nowus.
The Nawus.
This Patah turns the Nowus into the Amun-Ra.
Yeah, but see, you're talking about something that could be, Matab is talking about a creation period. But ultimately it migrates to the west. So we end up in the west. We went by way of the book of the law, the book of the dead. We are in the west.
And also in the Apocrypha, it says that in America we have the highest inclination from during the summertime, like on the planet. And it says the temple.
What makes us the most important is this. And the west could be the whole Western Hemisphere. So we got to, it could be, because we do know now. Let me give you something. Let me tell you something that happened. Marcus Garvey and whatever, and the people that's in the Rasta thing can understand this. When they said, look to the east for the coming of a king, Haile Selassie was only the sign of the coming of the king. The people were the Western people, and the Messiah of that particular realm was Bob Marley. Now let's break it down. You think you can go to the depths of him? That nigga killed his mama to spite you. No. You think you can match wits with that, man? We don't even think on that level with you. That guy, they transported them dogs and put you on the back of a truck. That white boy. So, that's you know what I'm saying. But my point here is illumination. We've been saying it over and over again, man. That's what the whole DNA and heart palpitation. It's not to become a human from the 1930s. You're not going to become another Louis Armstrong. See what I'm saying? He was a person to get you some doggone well. You see what I'm saying? And he was the ultimate drunken master. He grinned and everybody thought he was Uncle Tom. But you know that most of the terminology, the cats, the cool shit come from Louis Armstrong. And that nigga smoked herb to the day he died. And tried to legalize it with Harry Truman. He was an enigma. You see what I'm saying? That nigga was fucked up every day. You see what I'm saying? That's what that green was about. You see what I'm saying? What's that, sister?
I have one question and then something to share with the family. You were talking about death earlier, dying, coming back to life. I have had that experience. I hit my funny bone, which, as we all know, is quite a painful experience. But this experience was such that it shot me straight out of my body. I lost control of my bodily fluids, boo-booed on myself, urinated on myself, no heartbeat, no pulse, drooling, eyes in the back of the head. Now, I had gone to a place where I was with beings that I was very comfortable with, and we were having an excellent time. I felt good.
You must have did, because I got aroused by listening to your bodily fluids. That's some KG shit right there. So that must have was a spiritual experience. Yeah, but I understand where you're coming from.
And then I remembered where I was and brought myself back to that place. And everyone around me was freaked out and completely. This isn't something that I share with people, but I feel like we are.
But that's good. That testimonial, yeah. I'm not making light of it. That's really powerful.
I feel like, there are some beings that we cannot always communicate with, yes? Some things that happen to us that we cannot share with other people, right? And because we are all sharing the same light within the same space, I have the opportunity to open the floor for others to release those things and find some sort of balance and information. You understand? We have these experiences that are
Yes.
inexplicable as gods and goddesses as we move into our light state of being, as we move into our light. Yes? And so with that experience, I remembered where I was and was able to bring myself back from that place. But pain is a vehicle in which to transcend time and space.
Well, you know
and
what,
that is
sister?
that's the point that I wanted to make.
Well, you know, one thing, sister, you talking right now, some people might go, wow, she's going on, but guess what? That is indicative of the fairy experience right there. I mean, your mannerisms. That's what, you see what I'm saying? We got to let go of this. That's indicative of the fairy experience. Let me give you an example. I was in Indiana, and this sister had a little Down syndrome boy, and she was trying to make sense of it. And I said, that boy there, the spirit told me, I said, that boy there is in two different worlds. You call him the Down syndrome, that motherfucker special. He in the fairy kingdom, he in the spirit kingdom, and he's living between two worlds. And right then she realized that the baby was not afflicted, but special. If only she just studied what was going on. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. We got to just give up and stuff like that, yeah. And like I said, and just lose it on all forms of ego and stuff like that. You know, I'm to the point right now I don't have no scruples. None whatsoever. No scruples. You see what I'm saying? No scruples. If I can get away with cutting off a fart up here, so be it. Don't judge me.
What do you think of Janis Joplin?
Janet Joplin, like I said, she had tapped into something. You see what I'm saying? Otherwise, look, there's a book called The Covert War Against Rock and Roll. White boy wrote it.
Yes.
He said, when they die, they kill. He said, don't let nobody fool you. He made the case for Jimi Hendrix, and he ended his case with Tupac and Biggie. But he went through the Brian Jones, Janis Joplin, Bob Marley, Van Morrison. He said the government got a history of bumping these people off, black and white. You see what I'm saying? And whenever, you know what I'm saying, black and white, they got a history of bumping these particular people off with the talent and stuff like that. You see? And you know, so yeah, so don't let nobody fool you. They all got taken out. You see, they all got taken out. Even your boy, they say they threw his ass out a window. Hathaway. Talking about he jumped out of damn window. They threw that nigga out. That nigga wrote a song called The Ghetto. And one day our people will be free. What all that kind of stuff that nigga was dealing with, they throw that nigga right out the window. You see what I'm saying? Hell, Jim Croce wrote Bad Leroy Brown, talking about a black man on the south side of Chicago, and plane fell right out of the sky. Neil Wilkins's book Luminoid talk about that. Your plane fall right out of the sky. That was the #1 way they killed your ass in the 60s and 70s.
What about Aaliyah?
Huh?
What about Aaliyah?
Oh, Aaliyah. They said that Aaliyah didn't even die then. They just had a plane crash. They said they used her as a sex thing, like the guy Quaker Mutoy talked about, how they could take a young girl and put him in the bed with an old man. They used her. She didn't make the transition till she was strong enough. About like 4 years later. Yeah.
So they just had her like.
They had her she was 22, which was my at the time, and they had her as that thing to suck that energy.
She played Akasha?
When she played Akasha, they set up the template. They set up the template for that. So whenever you do these roles, that's like a ceremonial thing that you become that. It's like initiation. And once she did it, she became that particular battery for about 4 years. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. They used her as an energy thing, the right thing, and all like that. You see what I'm saying? Until, you know, she finally made the transition. Yeah, this brother here had his hand in you. What's that? Mm-hmm.
You know, this is 2008 and we're getting close to 2012. What's your take on, you know, transition around there's a guy, he's got a DVD out called, he's got the right attitude on it. He's got a book out called Secrets of Alchemy. He's got a tape out, Secrets of Alchemy. I can't think of the guy's name. He wrote a book called
The Great Cross of Hemmitt. Anyway, his book, Secrets of Alchemy, he said it. These things come in seasons. The 2012 will be a season that even the Mayans, when they calculated it, they understand time, and they understand that the time is false. So they will calculate something that is set as 2012, but it will be a season more than it will be just that date. You see what I'm saying? You see, more than to be just that date. So there's shit that went down in the millennium, but if you're looking at the date, you see what I'm saying? You know, you'll be a little disappointed. So I have learned to understand the season. We're in the season, but I'm quite sure when we get to that date on 2012, there's going to be a lot of people disappointed if we get to that date. But it's the circumference of a season, and we're in that season. You see what I'm saying?
One more question.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There it is.
Oh, yes.
Bobby, when is your next lecture?
Yeah, we're gonna do one down in D.C. on what's the date?
May 3rd.
May 3rd in what's that?
Bowie, Maryland.
Bowie, Maryland.
Yes.
We're gonna have Brother Azazel is coming on down there too. So we're gonna do that on what that, May 3rd?
May 3rd.
So down in Bowie, Maryland, on the outskirts of D.C. So what you want to do is Azazel, so Azariah will actually have the stuff, you know, and we're going to do with that and stuff. So we invite you to come on down. We have people vending and stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah.
All right, with that said, let's give it up.
Yeah. All right. All right. You're still welcome to get some Zodiac.
Yeah, get some
other things we got left.
Get to the play, and we can't do any lectures. Just like Paul Robeson, I'm blacked out. So, if you're interested in consciousness, give me some of Federal Reserve notes if you can. If not, don't worry about it, but pretty soon you won't have any anyway. It don't mean a thing. So, you know,
Yeah.
one way,